Hello and welcome to Free. 360 Gamercast, episode 89 for Tuesday, the 21st of September, 2021. I'm your host, Mark Webb, Gamertag, Pearson ID, Steam ID, Webby, 360G, and joining me on this fine evening is...
Do you know the way? Nick Fights.
And Sensei Switch.
How are we doing? Doing good, I hope. So, a little bit of news about next week's show, which is a Patreon show. And the main, and the free section that everyone gets. There won't be a podcast releasing on Tuesday next week. I'm actually having a little break for a few days, which includes obviously next weekend. So we won't actually be recording next week's show until Tuesday evening. So the show won't be out until some point on Wednesday next week. So just so everybody knows. Having a little bit of staycation.
I'm cancelling my Patreon.
Having a little bit of staycation and going down to Devon for a few nights.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sort your head out a bit.
Yeah, get away. Well, I've just got 2 weeks off work now. Just did my last shift today for 2 weeks. I actually start a new job on the 6th of October. So that's when I'm starting work. That's when I'm back at work. Same company, but I've got a new job, so that's all good.
Oh, new position.
Yeah. So I've got to be super duper busy. But yeah, thought I'd have a little bit of a time off before I start that, which is quite nice. Yes. So anyway, video games, guys. Video games. Who wants to go first? Who wants to dive straight into what they've played this week?
I'll let Nick go first. If I go first, people will be like,
yes. Nicky.
Depressing out the gate.
Yeah, all right. And I played quite a few because I've been off for 2 or 3 weeks. But I think I finished Judgment on PS4 because I said last time I was up to the last chapter of that. So I thought, I'll just finish that. That won't take long. And then about 3.5, 4 hours later, I was still going. So that last chapter was really, really long, and I was going until about 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'll just chuck it out. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Like I said before, it uses the new engine, so it just runs a lot smoother. But I'm not sure if I'm going to get the new one yet. Is it Friday or next Friday or something like that? Because I ain't sure with the... Yeah, I'm not sure with the PS4, PS5 upgrade thingy, because I might be getting the PS5 for Christmas. I don't know. So I might wait till I definitely know if I'm getting one and get the PS5 version.
That could be for the best, yeah.
Yeah, because they're being a bit iffy with these upgrades because they seem to be saying, we will do the same as Xbox. Then they say they don't, and then they want a tenner and all that crap.
Although that generally does seem to be the first-party studio titles, not necessarily like the third-party ones.
Yeah, exactly. But then we don't really know until it's out, do we? So I'll just see how it goes. I mean, those games drop in price pretty quickly anyway. Plus, I've still got Yakuza, Kiwami 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to play. So I've got plenty of...
Oh, bloody hell, not played any of them yet. Oh, my goodness.
Years.
Yeah, I played 7. I've played 0 and the original 2, on the PS2, not the Kiwami remake.
Okay.
They aren't too bad. I looked there about 14, 15 hours each to finish. They're not as long as the other ones. So, I've got plenty of those to go through. I mean, it might take me that long to find a PS5 anyway, so...
Well, yeah, you just need to try harder, mate. Download that Hotstock app on your phone and away you go. You'll be fine.
I did. It came through and said you can have a new Xbox or a PlayStation on about 3 hours after my... after the mechanic ran it for the MOT and said I'd spend 350 quid on my car. So I was like, oh, great. So that's where my Xbox and PS5 is. That's I'm holding up the rear suspension of my car.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, push bike for the win.
Yeah. I mean, I almost bought one Series X about a week ago because they were in stock. Well, they came said they were in stock at Amazon. So I went there, and that even had the thing, where it says you can pay monthly, like interest free for 6 months. Yeah. It was like 90 quid for 6 months. I thought, lovely. So I added it to basket, went to check out. And I said, yeah, it's not in your basket. So I refreshed, put it in there again. And I said, no, that's not in your basket. So I was like, oh. And then that said that was out of stock. So I thought, great. But I don't know. I suppose I'll get one eventually, one day, maybe. But yeah, I still got plenty more games to play, though. So it's not first world problems and all that crap.
So how did you find Judgment then? I mean, obviously you played Yakuza 0 quite recently, and it's set in the same city as Judgment, but it's a completely different take because you're playing as a different character, and the gameplay is slightly different, right?
Yeah, I mean, you only play as one bloke, not two. There's in 0, and I enjoyed it a lot more. Yeah, it had the English voice acting, which I did like, and the story. I mean, it's not as mental as Yakuza, where I could just completely go crazy side quests, like teaching the dominatrix how to talk dirty and things like that. It's not. It's not as bad as how Yakuza can get. I think it was a little bit more focused on the story, and there's a lot of plot twists along the way. I mean, I don't want to spoil because other people might be playing that leading up to the new one coming out.
Yeah,
and it looks like he's wearing the exact same clothes he did in this game, so I take it the new one carries on pretty much after the next one. But then I think Kiryu's been wearing that white suit for about 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
maybe that's not. I don't know, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. I mean, I will get the newer one, eventually.
Yeah.
So obviously I finished that, and then obviously you know what I'm like, so I'm back on the retro games again.
Yeah, I know what you like, mate.
Yeah, and I've played these games a little bit before, but I've never properly finished them. Because I'm not very good at games, and plus, you have to take time to get good at these games. I mean, that's 2 games, but sort of one. It's Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh, bloody hell, Mega Drive. You're going back to the Mega Drive here.
Well, not quite. I mean, I played on the Sega Saturn because there's a Sonic Jam, which has all 4 Sonic games, in a collection sort of thing. So it's just a bit easier to stream that because I've got a HDMI cable for a Saturn. Plus, I haven't got a Mega Drive anymore.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed those because most people, Sonic 2 was my favourite because I think by the time 3 and Knuckles came out, I think a lot of people were moving on to PlayStation and stuff like that. I mean, it came out about a year before PlayStation, those 2 games, but I mean, I suppose you were the same as us back then. We didn't, when you're young, you get games whenever your parents buy them for you, or birthday and Christmas. You don't get them on release dates and things like that, do you? You just get them when you get them. That could be a year or even 2 years later.
Yeah, I mean, the Sonics are kind of a weird one on the Mega Drive. I mean, I loved Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. I have a lot of fond memories of playing Sonic 2 multiplayer, on the split screen, on the race stuff, which is quite cool. On Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, I mean, I thought they were good, but I think they kind of lost their way from the original games, if that makes sense. I found the level design wasn't as good as the original games, and they slightly changed the art style as well, which wasn't really to my liking. Even when I was a 12, 13, 14-year-old, I was a bit of a game critic.
yeah, I think because I think there was a different departments. I think the Americans did 2, and I think the Japanese had a lot more involvement in 3 and Knuckles.
Right. Okay.
And I see what you mean with the art style. That was more of a maybe sort of a hand-drawn comic style of Sonic. Well, it's slightly different, not bad, but just slightly different. But
yeah,
I mean, I played through them because there's the weird thing. Sonic 3 came out in February, March time in 1994, and Sonic and Knuckles came out in like September time, and it was and how we get mad because that was actually supposed to be one game.
Yeah, and the way they got around that was on the Sonic and Knuckles there was like another cartridge slot on top of the of that cartridge, so you could plug Sonic 3 into Sonic and Knuckles and have Knuckles playing through Sonic 3, and you could also plug in Sonic 2, and if you plug the original Sonic in, it would just take you to the bonus stages.
Yeah, that was I think it was like the blue stages, but I mean, what do they call that? Lock-on technology. So they were doing DLC and stuff back then, back in the early 90s. But I mean, it was a really good game. I don't like the bonus stages on that because it's really fast and you have to collect all these blue balls and stuff like that. I mean, I'm usually quite good with blue balls, but not on this game. And you just run around. I mean, I really enjoyed.
Faster, doesn't it? Yeah,
it's just a bit too fast for me, and I think there's quite a few people I've seen that's really fast. But I mean, it's really good games. The graphics are pretty good, and it seems a lot faster than the original. But I don't know. It's on Sonic Jam. They weren't just like emulation ports. They'd actually properly made them again for the Sega Saturn. So I think there's a few things like so you wouldn't get the slowdown. Like if you crash and you lose your rings and some of the Sonic levels, you'd have that little bit of slowdown.
Yeah.
Things like that. But that doesn't seem to be in this one because they did a much better job. And they had things like they had original mode, easy mode, special mode, and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So like easy mode, you can do that, and that basically gives you hypersonic and things like that at all times, which is fun.
Oh, okay.
It's just a little way because I mean, I don't know about if you did it back in the day, maybe on Sonic 2, where you have to collect all the emeralds and then you could go like Hypersonic or whatever that is. I mean,
Supersonic, where you're yellow. Is that the one that you're?
Yeah, I think the yellow one's Hypersonic. I kept getting told off in chat because I wasn't using the correct Sonic terms.
I thought that was Supersonic, but
I did, but apparently that's Hyper. I was like, all right, maybe if you say so, mate. But I enjoyed that, and the music. Some of the music on that, I've actually downloaded it onto my iPod because some of the music in that is fantastic, which we know because Michael Jackson done quite a lot of them.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't know that. That's quite cool.
Oh, he was had a few problems in 1994 at the time as this game coming out.
Right, okay.
We know what problems he had. So they were like, oh, we can't really credit him because, the court cases and all stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they sort of distanced themselves. But you can tell which ones he did on them. And if you look online, they'll actually tell you.
Oh, cool.
If you download the soundtrack, you can see which ones he done because they're just really catchy, some of them.
Yeah.
But that's really good. They're really good games. But if anyone's looking at playing them, at the start of next year, Sega are bringing out the Sonic Origins collection, which is the first 4 games, but they're making them widescreen, HD. So they're not just emulation ports.
Yeah, because you can already play the ports on Xbox anyway, can't you?
Yeah, some of them you can. I think Sonic 3, you have to buy it through the 360, though. You can't buy it through the Xbox or through the 360 store or something.
Right, because I've got them all on my Series X. I must have bought them when they come out.
Yeah, but because you know what they're like, they put stuff on the store, take it off and stuff like that. But I've got Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 2 and things like that. But Sonic 3 and Knuckles has always been a bit iffy with the collections and stuff, like the Mega Drive collections and all what they've made over the years, when they bring it out again on Switch. They always just seem to have Sonic 1 and 2. They never seem to give 3 and Knuckles a lot of love. I think 1 and 2 are a lot more iconic than 3 and Knuckles. But, they're really good games. They're definitely worth a buy and a go next year, as long as Sega don't charge 70 quid or something for it. But they might do. But plus, I did say a few weeks ago, the Sonic Colors got the physical release got cancelled.
Yeah.
But they've announced that that's coming out in early October. So the physical that is coming out now. So because obviously they had some sort of problem with the discs or something, or getting them because of COVID.
Right. Makes sense.
Let's move on to the next game, and this is almost a new game.
Oh.
And it's a campaign, Call of Duty Cold War.
Oh, mate, you play anything new?
Well, that is the...
That's the latest one, I know.
Yes, for like a month. And yeah, I mean, I've played pretty much all of Call of Duties since they've been out, and yeah, this is probably the worst one they've ever made.
Oh, Peebs really enjoyed it, but we know what his taste in games is like.
It is not very good at all. I mean, with Call of Duty, you usually know what you're getting. You know, I mean, this has got good shooting, which you'd expect from Call of Duty. But for some reason, they've put a lot of just walking around talking missions into it. Oh. And then you're doing, like, hacking, because, I mean, a set in the 70s, I think, or 60s or 70s. And then you go and kind of like Fallout, where you're hacking these, like, old computers and doing all this memory test stuff and passwords, and that's just, like, really bad. And then there's a few stealth missions that are also really bad as well. And in between missions, rather than just like do a mission and then watch a little cutscene or a bit of talking on to the next mission, you go to like one of these rooms, you know, like a planning room sort of thing, like your hideout. And then they want you to walk around talking to everyone. And then you go up to like your mission board and select what mission you want to do next and all that stuff. And it's just, I got stuck for about an hour on one mission because the stealth was just not very good at all. I mean, maybe I'm just bad at stealth missions, but
probably
it could be that. Probably that as well. But it was just slow, you know. Call of Duty's fast-paced, run and gun, you know, and that's all you want. But I don't know why they did that. They just slowed it really down, and I paid no attention to the story at all because I'm like, bored. You know, you don't normally go to Call of Duty for really interesting story, though, do you?
No.
I don't know. Like some of the earlier Black Ops had interesting storyline stuff, didn't they? With like the Mason thing and the brainwashing and all of that.
I mean, that's what they did in this one. Again, look, your main character got brainwashed, and there was, and they basically, so they ripped off Fallout with all the weird computers. They also ripped off BioShock 1 with like a code word. In that, it's like, we've got a mission to do, so you just done the mission. Like, you know, in BioShock, the whole "would you kindly" thing.
Yeah,
that was like the reveal that your character's been brainwashed to do whatever he's supposed to. I can't even remember what he was supposed to do in the end, but I could saw Woods in there, who was from the other Black Ops, but he didn't seem to do anything. So I'm like, oh, all right. But yeah, I remember the older Black Ops because you had like him and Mason, and what was it, Ice Cube was in there, or his character, but I just call him Ice Cube. I don't know what his character was actually called. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. But then once the new one comes out, that's going to be so cheap.
Well, I don't know, because the Call of Duty games always seem to hold their price, don't they? Even for a couple of games behind.
There was one that actually went on sale quite quickly. I can't remember which one it was.
Was it the Black Ops 4? Because that was multiplayer only. Did that one drop?
What was the one where they kind of went to space?
Oh, fuck me. I can't remember the name of that one.
And it had the guy from Game of Thrones in it.
Advanced Warfighter?
Not sure. It was like the most sort of... No. It was like one a couple of years after that. Like I said, it had Kit Harington in it.
I can't remember the name of it.
People sort of moaned because it kind of went a bit too futuristic for what people were sort of like wanting.
Yes,
so I remember that sort of dropping in price a little bit.
Well, Ghosts and Advanced Warfare. I mean, Ghosts came out right about the time as PS4 came out.
Yeah,
they did the Kevin Spacey
it was one of the first titles one, yeah.
Ghosts was a bit controversial. I think some people loved it and some people hated it.
Fair dues.
that one was better than this one because this one's crap. So don't buy it unless you get
Fair
it.
enough. I'm glad I never bought it.
Yeah. And then I had another go on a new but very old game. Which is the Quake remaster thingy they put on Game Pass.
Oh, yeah. How you finding it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was going to be, I mean, it's basically Doom, but a little bit newer. And, you know, because like with, remember Doom, you just shoot, but it's not as first person as we are now. You just have to, you can only shoot, like move your gun left and right.
Yeah.
If the bloke is above you or below you, you'll still shoot. But whereas Quake, you actually have to move the crosshair onto them. Because I think Quake
was one of the first sort of like evolutions of the FPS, like where it was up, down, left, and all that. Yeah.
I mean, that's good. I mean, it looks how you remember it looking. I've got that on Sega Saturn, so I put that one in as well. You know, to go back. And yeah, that's a completely different game. Basically,
I bet it plays like dog shit on a D-pad.
Oh yeah, really bad, and that's just it's just basically, it just seemed really dark everywhere. But plus this has got all like the extra missions and what you would call DLC and stuff like that from all the different versions of Quake one they've released. So the one on the Saturn only had like really small amount of levels, whereas this one has got loads of levels.
Yeah.
I played through most of that. I enjoyed that. That was quite good. That's, you know, I mean, I like that and, you know, the old Dooms and stuff like that. And I don't know, is that come to Switch? Because I think that'd be really good on the Switch.
I think it might have done, you know. I can't confirm 100%, but I'm pretty sure someone said to me that they played it on the Switch.
I mean, that'd be good because I've got Doom 1 and 2 on the Switch because that they play really well handheld.
Yeah,
I mean,
can
Doom
imagine,
1 and 2, I remember I actually had them and completed them on the Game Boy Advance SP.
Oh my goodness, wow.
I think I had Doom on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that actually played quite well for what it was. The only problem was you had to pretty much have the SP to have the light. If you played on an original, you just couldn't. Well, that's pretty much all games. You couldn't hardly see. You'd have to get one of them silly plug-in light things.
I had one of those. I had the light, and I had one of those magnifying glass things you put on top of the screen as well. Do you remember those? Yeah.
I had one on the original chunky grey Game Boy.
Yeah.
You used to have to put that on there and lift it up and down. Oh god, that was awful.
Yeah.
I remember having that, and I was playing that, and I went round and saw my cousin who had the old Game Gear.
Oh,
and
wow,
I'm like, oh, what? He went, yeah. Oh, well, that's my old Game Boy, but I sold that to your mum and dad for Christmas for you because that's crap. I was like, oh, great. So I get his old cast-offs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is what it is, but yeah.
The Game Boy SP was one of the best handheld gaming systems, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it was small, compact, like you say, colour, had a backlight, and obviously with the clamshell design, you can pretty much put it in anything you want, and it protects the screen and everything.
Yeah,
they were really good. Plus, I mean, I don't know if towards the end of it they brought out the revision of that.
Game Boy Micro or something, wasn't it? Or
no, not the Micro, but a revision to the SP. What they do with consoles, they upgrade them, but don't really tell you. So, you know, it's just a newer model, but it's got a fully lit back screen. You know, like gone from say like edge lit to fully backlit TV sort of thing. So it's just a lot brighter, and it had an extra level of brightness. It was a lot better. So I've got one of those. Plus, I've got a fake. I think it's a Game Pocket or something.
Right.
Which is basically, it's a Chinese copy. It's brilliant. It looks identical apart from where it says Game Pocket, and the battery's better, the screen's better, and everything works fine. I mean, they're about cheap on like Wish and eBay and stuff like that. I mean, if you're charging it, it may explode and set your house on fire, but you know, it still works. Right, and then I moved on to another game. We're getting a bit newer. I never played this before, but I played through this all in one sitting on stream. It was Limbo.
Oh, I love Limbo. What a game.
Yeah, because I got that with one of the games with gold ages ago. So when I was just going through my Xbox and said, and they said, Limbo, that's good. So I thought, I'll play that. Because I'm not, like I said to you, I'm not big on a lot of these indie games because I haven't really played many. I really enjoyed this. I mean, that was really clever. And the art style, it's like, you look at it and you think, well, these graphics are crap, aren't they? But I think they're supposed to be like that. It's just like a black and white or black and brown sort of thing. It's a simple like moving from left to right, like doing little puzzles and avoiding enemies. And there's a few of them which sort of stumped me. I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that? But then once it clicks, you just get really excited. You're like, oh yeah, I worked out.
It's a good game. It's a really good puzzle platformer game. Originally came out on the 360, I think, as well. And then they put a version out on Game Pass for the Xbox One. Or did it come out on the One and then the Series? Anyway.
No, it was originally, I think, one of the Summer of Arcade games that was touted, like back when they did all that. Because that and obviously, what was the other one where you play the scientist building the atom bomb?
Oh, fuck.
Braid.
Yes.
Braid. I think that and Braid were like two of the biggest sort of hits for the early indie game scene on the consoles.
But yeah, they did do another version of Limbo. Well, just an Xbox One version. It's a great game, man. Absolutely fantastic. I love it because some of the puzzles do stump you for a while. You have to kind of think outside the box, and some of the enemies are really well done as well. You got those little bug things that like attach to your head, so you walk, so it messes your controls up. So right is left, and left is right.
Well, I didn't mess your controls up. Basically,
it makes you run it just makes you run non-stop in the opposite direction.
And then you have to work out to get back to do things, and then you have to do whatever you got to do in the right order, and then like another bug eats it off your head, so then you can go to normal.
Yeah.
And some of those, I'm like, why am I walking that way? I'm not supposed to walk that way. And then I just kept dropping in the water. I think there was 2 or 3 puzzles where I just kept dying all the time. And some of the deaths, even though the graphics are a bit, small and like you get stuck in the traps and stuff like that.
Your head
and some of them are brutal. Like, your head comes off and all bits, and then like a little spurt of blood, and you're like, "Ooh, that's a bit much." And things like
getting impaled by spider legs.
Oh yeah, because that was one of the first boss where there's a big spider, and you're like, "Oh dear, don't like spiders," and you have to like get the little bear trap to chop his legs off and stuff like that.
That's it, yeah.
And eventually, as you get through him, he keeps coming back at you, and you end up like pulling another leg off each time. And then I think the last one, you then pull his final leg off, and then you like roll on his dead body like all the way through a bit of the level.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just looked. This came out in July 2010.
Wow. But it doesn't seem like that long ago.
It would have been 360, wouldn't it? 11 years ago. I said that's a new game, but it's not that new, is it?
Time certainly flies, I'll tell you. Wow.
But that's good. And there's another game which they've brought out called, and I think that was on Games with Gold recently as well. That one of their newest one, which is called Inside.
That
was Spirit 2016. Kind of thing, so I'm going to play that soon because that's their newer one.
Oh, you've not played it? Okay.
No, I'm just saying that's what I'm going to go on to that next. So I could be a professional indie game streamer.
Yeah, man.
Probably not. So, and another game I played, which is we're going old again, which is Outrun 2 on the original Xbox.
Oh, brilliant!
I've got that actually.
Yeah, I think it's getting. I don't know if this one I've got. It's getting a bit expensive now. I thought, this is going to look terrible. This is going to look awful on old Xbox game. But you know what? I was playing it like within like 30 seconds. None of that matters because it's just so much fun. You've got the music, and also you've got one of the tracks is the same song as the original one as well.
Oh yeah.
You just pick your car and away you go. And I mean, it's just an arcade game. Which I completed it, but that's not that difficult to complete. It's just, like hit your checkpoints. And if you go after the checkpoint, you can go left or right. And if you go left, that's the easier route, or you go right, which will be the harder route. But it changes the scenery as you go through.
That's correct, yeah.
Like you'll go, oh, this is the desert, or this is the jungle, this is the snow, this is the mountains, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just play. I think you're at Ferraris and Porsches and things like that. I was a bit gutted because I couldn't work out how to unlock the Ferrari F40.
Oh,
It's one of the best, like the square typed one from the 80s. But I couldn't work out how to unlock that because I didn't know if I had to, thought, well, I don't think they had DLC back then, but you obviously have to complete it in some sort of order or whatever you got to do. But that was really good because someone said to me, I should play a game where I don't like rage as much. Sometimes on the stream you play games and you like sort of rage at them because they get difficult.
Yeah. That's what people like to see, though, don't they?
Probably. I think that's why they're people, because that's basically. So that was fun. So that's what got onto my next game, which caused quite a few rages on stream, to be honest. Which is, and this is original Xbox game as well, and the PS2 GameCube, which is The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which is basically this Simpsons Grand Theft Auto, pretty much, because you had Simpsons Road Rage, which was The Simpsons copying Crazy Taxi, and then this one, which was Hit and Run, which you think, oh, that's just a Simpsons game, that'll be fun, a little kids game. So some of those like timed missions for that are so painful. Got me like shouting and swearing, which I don't normally like to do, but it wasn't my fault. It was the game. Yeah, I mean, it is probably one of the best Simpsons games. I'm just surprised there haven't been more Simpsons games over the years, because you had a couple on like Mega Drive, like Bart's Nightmare and things like that, and then a wrestling game I think you had on PS1.
Right.
A few other games, but I think we've only had one on 360 years ago, which was just Simpsons the Game. I don't think we've had one since, have we? I can't think of any Simpsons games.
I think it's probably a licensing issue, and obviously Disney own it all now, don't they? So.
Oh yeah, they bought Fox,
true.
Didn't they? Yeah. So, but plus maybe it's just they would let people have the license, but they want stupid money to do it, and is The Simpsons as popular as it used to be? Probably not.
Oh man, I think it's still popular.
I could see a Hit and Run remaster doing pretty well, because I know a lot of people sort of tout that as being the best Simpsons game outside of obviously the Simpsons arcade.
Yeah,
I mean they put
way
Simpsons arcade on 360, didn't they? And then took it off.
I believe so. Yeah, for a brief period.
Yeah. But I mean, this one, it plays okay. And if it's just like when you go between different cars, there is a lot of difference in the handling. So some of them will be really, really quick in a straight line, but terrible if you actually try and turn around a corner, where you'll either not turn and just crash into everything, or you press, to turn a little bit, and you end up just doing a 360 and crashing into a wall. It's the last 2 or 3 levels were quite bad, which was weird. I don't know if it's because I think the last level, which I got stuck on for about an hour, the last mission, should I say, where you have to like drive to what's it called, from the school all the way to the power plant, for the nuclear power plant, pick up a bomb and drive it back to the school. And I was getting like within. I could see it, and then you'd run out of time, and then I was like, "Oh, right, back to the start." And then a couple of times I actually got there, and you drive under the alien spaceship, and then the car like lifts up. So it's got like a green tractor beam thing, and it lifts the car up with the bomb and blows up the alien ship. Because I think the game, they say, "Oh, what's going on?" Turns out it was the aliens, and I was getting there.
Blame the aliens.
Blame the aliens, and it was doing a bit where, so I got out of the car and it was saying like 5, 4, 3, and the car was lifting up, and then it was like a second away from hitting it, And that went, nope, failed mission, restart. And I was like, this controller is going through the wall. And what I couldn't understand was a few times I did that, I got into the back of the school area, and it said you've got 10 seconds to drive there, wait for it to lift you up and get out. It just didn't seem to be enough time. But then the time I actually did it, it said for some reason, it said I had 25 seconds for the car to go up there. I did it, so I was like, oh, all right, why did it do that? And because there's a few people that speed run this game.
Right.
So I was watching them. I thought, oh, well, they must be really good at this game. They won't be shouting and swearing. And nope, they're shouting and swearing as well. Quite a lot. Because there's a lot of RNG with that, like the car placements and stuff like that, and the pedestrians. So sometimes I could be doing a mission, like trying to go really fast to try and get there. And there's not a lot of time. It's not like, oh, it's a kid's game. We've played loads of games. We could do that. It does not give you a lot of time. Not at all. And sometimes you're on the road and there's like one or two cars on there. And then another time you could be on there, it could be absolutely packed. And then the AI is a bit weird. It's just like you'll drive at someone. They think, oh, I'll just go round him. And as you go round him, he decides he's just going to drive in front of you and just ram you off the road. Because the AI thinks you're driving at it, so he thinks he's getting out of the way, but he actually drives into you. So that's some of the things.
Yeah, it's just an old school game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's old.
Rage.
Yep. So you go from Simpsons Road Rage to Hit and Run, so I was shouting and swearing and things like that. But it is fun. I think someone did. I think that's on YouTube. Someone did actually remake that themselves in like what was it? The engine, the Unreal whatever engine.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's. Yeah. I don't know if he's gonna release that to the public or whatever because all these fan games. Anyway. Yeah, they keep getting taken down and stuff like that. But they've talked about this getting a remake for a while. But like Switch said, licenses and stuff like that, I can't see it ever happening.
Yeah, 100%. It won't happen, mate. It'll get shut down. Anyway, what else you played, Nicky?
Mate.
Yeah? Hello?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it? Okay, cool.
That's it. It's fair few games.
Yeah, man. That's good. Good selection, shall we say. So what about you, Darren? Have we lost Darren?
No, I'm still here.
Discord is having a hissy fit.
Is Discord having a hissy fit? I'm still here. All right. What have you been playing,
Darren? All right?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate, yeah.
Well, not a great lot outside of the usual also rans, as it were, of the usual week. Main game has been Tales of Arise.
Oh, this has been my main game as well. How far have you got now, mate?
36 hours in.
Wow, you're a lot further than me then.
I don't know if I am or not.
Right.
See, I don't think this is actually a long game. I don't think, like, out of JRPGs and stuff, this looks to be like possibly like a 40 or 50 hour game.
Oh,
I'd imagine.
Well, that's if you just blast through the main quest line, right?
Yeah, so I'm imagining stuff carries on after you finish the main game, or per se, because there's quests in early areas where it's like, come back here later on, and obviously I'm still nowhere near the right level to go back there yet.
Yeah.
And even when I've teleported back to some of those zones, someone's like, oh, there's an early one that you get in the first village where some bloke's like, I've got to pick out an outfit.
Yes.
Let me know what you think of it. And I went back there, like, literally at 34 hours played, and he was like, still, I think I've got an idea. Come back and check later.
Yeah, that's the same one I keep on checking on, yeah.
Like, yeah. Because I will say the teleportation in this game is like, once you actually suss it out, it's very easy to just quickly just teleport to pretty much wherever you want.
Yeah, and it's really handy for some side quests. And that, but it took me a while,
especially the owls.
Yeah, for the owls. But there was one point in the game. This might be a minor spoiler, but it's not main quest related anyway. Really, you get a farm, and you can raise animals.
Yes.
And then once they've matured, you get meat. I kept on teleporting back to the farm, and that was quick and easy. But then I realised, the campsites. There's a little man selling you stuff. You can just manage your farm from there. Yeah. Yes. So I was like, okay.
I will say, if you teleport back to the farm, that's the only way you can get rid of the mice.
Yeah, because you have to go and click on them, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously you watch the cats and they just run over and obviously sort of like, over here. You might want to check over here. And that obviously stunts the growth or the timer for those set animals. But now I've unlocked 5 animals and an extra.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you're a lot further than me.
Up to 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really enjoying the game. I think the way it's produced and everything is fantastic. I still think there's a little bit too much dialogue, which might put a lot of people off.
Well, there's always been a thing with the Tales games. It's the skits.
Yeah, true that.
You don't have to click on them, but I'm actually really enjoying the amount of dialogue in the game. I think it's just because I'm not hammering the game because I've got it on the Xbox. I can only play it in the evenings because obviously it's my Xbox is set up on the main TV, and during the day the kids are watching their cartoons and all that stuff. So I'm only playing it in the evenings, and I'm about 30 hours in actually, but I'm not as far as you, Darren. And I'm absolutely loving it. I'm loving the amount of dialogue there is, the amount of skits, all the different storylines for all the characters. There's some good twists and turns along the way. It's a typical Tales game, really, which I really, really like. But it is definitely one of the best Tales games I have actually played. My other favourites are Berseria and Tales of Vesperia. I've actually not played Symphonia, and I really should do because that's touted as one of the best. But
I have that on the GameCube, I believe.
Oh, I've actually got it on PC, but I just haven't got around to playing it yet. But I'm really enjoying Arise. It's so well produced, so well polished, and it just feels like an epic journey. The only thing I will say is at the beginning of the game, I felt very confused as to what the fuck was going on, but then it kind of becomes clear within the first couple of hours. Yeah, I'm really liking it because there's quite a bit of politics involved about the 2 different types of people, and it's coming to terms with some stuff, and I just think it's very well written.
It does seem that way. Does follow a lot of the sort of like typical sort of tropes, as it were, from that sort of storytelling. But if those tropes are good, then they always kind of work anyway.
Yeah.
I think playing this in sort of like 3 to 4 hour spurts at a time is the way to do it, because I think otherwise you can just burn yourself out on like all the story and the skits. Because I will say that there's a lot of conversation that goes on. And there'll be sometimes when you're out in the open world and your characters are commenting on what's going on, and then you'll just go straight into a cutscene and it cuts off all that dialogue.
Yeah, well, I end up when
what that's going to actually what they're actually talking about.
Yeah, so when they're doing those little chats aren't in the skits, I normally just stand still and just listen to it.
That's one thing, because you can trigger them, but there are times in the story where I've had the characters talking and then it's just gone straight into a cutscene.
No, I've had that happen on many occasions, which is why I'm now sitting still. And the same thing with the so it's a bit like Final Fantasy 15 in some ways with the campsites. So you go to a campsite and everyone's sitting around the campfire and they'll have their little conversations, and I like to listen to those. Then you can have a skit if you like. And you can cook meals which give you certain buffs. And then if you do a meal, it gives you an option to have a conversation with one of the characters in your party, and it brings them closer together. I don't actually know what benefit that will have later on in the game, but it's just quite cool.
I think it's to do with like characters sort of like increasing their charge gauges faster, because when you're obviously in a fight, the character you're controlling all of the other ones have like a little bar that occasionally goes up, and when it fills up, you can do a certain move. Like you can steal magic off the enemy if the enemy's casting, or you can sort of interrupt them with a stun, or like lock them to the spot, depending on which character you call in. I still really like the combat. There's times when everything mashes together perfectly well.
Yeah.
And then there's other times when I'm literally sitting there shouting, why have a fucking dodge button then if it's not going to work? Because there's certain fights in this where you'll be up against like a big enemy, and it almost feels the only way you can get the dodge button to work is if you don't actually attack the enemy. Because, like I said last week, if you're committed into a hit or doing one of your moves, you can't dodge, and you will get battered over and over again. And it's sort of got to the point, like I said, on a few of the fights where I just literally just sat there. I just stopped bothering dodging. I just thought, no, I'm just not going to bother dodging, and you can just heal me up because it's pointless me trying to dodge.
Yeah,
because I'm so used to the. Yeah, carry on, sorry.
I quite like the battle system, though, because once you get more characters in your party, I've got 6 characters. I don't know if you unlock any more, but you can only have 4 fighting at a time, but the other ones act as a support, so you can bring them in when they have their kind of like their special moves. So in some ways, it doesn't really matter which 4 you have in some instances, but they all have their different abilities, which is really, really nice. And also, what I really like about the battles is they sometimes have little conversations as the battles are progressing, which is
some of them are hilarious.
Yeah, it's really, really good, and it just makes it feel more real in some ways, but also just brings that comedy value as well, which is really, really nice in some instances.
Like people going, I hate these enemies; they're jumping around all the time.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and it's like, I'm kicking arse here, and it's like, you on about that time you missed that those last bunch of hits, and he's like, no, I wasn't talking about that. But all of the characters seem really well rounded, and obviously it's one of those when the characters all start off, no one really knows each other, and a lot of the characters come across as being a bit of an arsehole.
Yes.
Like, there's especially 2 of the characters early on that are really, like, just cold to everyone else constantly.
Yeah.
And you're almost to the point where you're like, give it a rest, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Like, everyone else is sort of trying to bond together and everything. I mean, one of the people who obviously has sort of like a tragedy happen in their life quite early on in the game, they're one of the characters that comes round and sort of opens up and becomes friendly a lot quicker than some of the others do.
Yeah, and that's what I like about. I mean, it's that classic JRPG thing, right, where you get your band of misfits all come together, and they all eventually get along, and they feel like a little family by the end of the game, right? And that's what makes these games so good. I mean, at the minute, so far. My team is like certain members are still in the middle of trying to bond, if that makes sense. They're not quite there yet, but you can see where things will probably go, and it's just really interesting just to see that character progression as you're playing through the game. Story-wise, it's really well done. I'm loving the story on this game. It's really gripping. The overarching story of the world, and there's like this more technological other race, and they've got like they like a lot of them live in the sky in this other planet or whatever, and it's just really interesting how it all happens and how it all works with the magic and stuff like that. I mean, some of the story's a bit silly, to be honest, about this competition or whatever the fuck's going on between all the rulers, but the rest of it I think is really, really good. And I have to say, this is probably going to end up being my game of the year. I know I'm giving spoilers for the end of the year, but it's going to take some beating, to be honest, for me personally.
It's definitely a fantastic game. I mean, you're right with the story. I mean, it's a way of bringing in a load of sort of like boss characters, as it were, and having them each running a different area of the world.
Yes.
that you're going around, and it's very brutal as well. There's a lot of death in this game.
There is, and but also like the way, but because the world is set off into like the different zones, which each different ruler rules, and that they're all sectioned off from each other, and what I really like about it is the art style of each area. They're all completely different. The weather's different. The day of, some of it's day or night time. And there's all these different contrasts between like the desert area. There's like a green lush area, like a snow area, and they all have they all just look and feel, so different. And what's interesting is you've got similar enemy types in each of the areas, but they look and they act different, and that's kind of explained along the way as to why, which is really, really cool. So I just like...
Which just means they have good other weaknesses as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're in a fire area, then obviously water magic and stuff is how to go, and vice versa. The opposite elements kind of thing, because they play the elements thing into this as well.
Yeah, big time. But yeah, I mean, the game is beautiful. I mean, as soon as I hit that green portion of the world, and it's the same as the demo area, right? And you're looking over the cliffs at all the rest of the, all the beauty in the distance, etc. It just looks like the art style's really well done, because like when it's close, it looks like a really nice kind of cartoony-ish painted graphics, but then as the distance draws out, it just looks more and more like a water painting. It's just really well done, the contrasts between what's close to you and what's far away, but it all blends together so well.
And it continues to impress. Obviously, you've got all of your characters, as far as I know, so when you go to the city where you basically get your last two characters, as soon as I walked into that city, I was like, bloody hell, they've gone all out on here, like with all the bannering up in the city and everything, and it just all looks so well done. And then you go into the palace, and I'm like, holy shit, look
beautiful.
at this.
Yeah.
Look at that, all the different painting and colours on the walls and everything. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, for a JRPG, they really went to town. So, how many lords or sort of the 5 have you sort of done at the moment?
Okay, so I'm at a portion now where, well, you put a picture up very recently on Twitter of like kind of a rundown city.
Yeah,
I'm there.
The music in that place suits that place so well.
Yeah.
It's so really miserable and somber.
Yeah, but that portion of the story is really, really good, because it contrasts the people who were slaves and how some of them are now behaving like the oppressors, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I was just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're just acting like a dick, So, yeah, I was just bit taken aback by that portion, but it's quite interesting, to be honest, because
you are soon coming up to, well, after that section ends, you will pretty much get an entire overview of what the hell is actually going on.
Excellent.
Who your character actually is.
Yeah, because again, it's that JRPG trope of your character. Shit. It's your character has memory loss, and he doesn't know who he is, and he has a few flashbacks every now and again. So yeah, it'd be nice to find out who he is, Darren, to be honest.
It was great, and again, like the cutscenes and stuff. Part of me, like when it cuts, because there's obviously a few anime parts in it where it just cuts to like an anime, which kind of it goes in hand with the series, because usually these series or games get an anime adaptation.
Yeah, they do.
A bit further down the line, and it looks like a lot of it's already been kind of done in that aspect. But part of me at the same time is kind of like, oh, we should have done this in engine, because like it's the in-engine stuff looks lovely anyway, and it's done in such a well-presented way. Yeah. And thankfully, there are some pretty impressive fights. You'd have had one already.
Yeah.
Because you fight someone before you get to that rundown area, and it gets into a big actiony cutscene and all of that. I was like, oh, get in. What's going on with what was going on there? So yeah, you've got more of that sort of stuff to come.
Yeah.
One other downside I will say, although I did get used to it, there's fishing in the game.
Yes, fishing.
And at first, I was like, this is the worst fishing in a game I've ever come across. Because you go in there, and normally with everything, it gives you a little tutorial.
Yeah,
but
well,
this
got a
doesn't.
Tutorial
It just tells you two screens. It doesn't tell you like what you should be watching out for, what your tension is, like what your lures do, what fish they're actually good at catching. So I noticed, obviously after mucking around, I've got used to it now a lot better. So obviously you've got your standard rod, which is shit. I can't wait to get rid of that rod. It's horrendous because it just there's certain fish you cannot land with it.
Yeah,
you just can't. But if you highlight your lures, it will tell you the fish that lure is used best for catching, and then down the bottom in the corner, it's got button combinations for attracting certain fish. So when you cast your lure in, if you look at the bottom right on the thing, it will say like, I don't know, like something bass, X triangle. So then when the water's in, you push X, then triangle, and you'll get a bar up with a load of fish that are in the water.
Yeah.
And depending on what you're doing, that fish will start moving closer to your line. So if you want to catch certain fish, you've got to be using certain combinations of buttons. This is all stuff I had to sort of figure out on my own, because the tutorial didn't really do any job of letting you know about that. It also didn't let me know, you not only want me to use R1 and R2, you'll also throw in L1 and L2 as well, just to completely throw me out.
Oh, okay.
And I very rarely ever reel in my fish as well. I'll just fight it with the left and right, and then using the buttons, because if you reel it in, the tension just goes right up, and then the fish will escape. But yeah, I don't want to spend too much on that. But yeah, the fishing is actually a lot better than you think it is at the start, because I was like, this is awful.
Oh, I can't be
because I couldn't catch anything.
I just want to play the story and do the side quests.
There's more recipes and stuff you can earn, and other things like by doing these. So that although they are kind of like optional, they do actually do things like if you catch a lot of fish, you'll unlock a new skill set for obviously Kisara.
Yeah.
Like if you get a certain character to cook a lot of food, they'll open up a skill set which gives them more skill points that you can put into other abilities and such.
Okay, cool, man.
I was watching my mate stream the first few hours of this, and that looks a really nice game. I was watching, like you said earlier, about the cutscenes, and you look at them and you think it's like an animated movie, and like I haven't seen anything that good since. Remember, like Ni no Kuni, when it showed the animated sections of that.
Yeah,
I've never seen it because I was watching him. I was like, "What are you watching? What's this film you're watching?" You're not supposed. It's like, "Oh, that's the game." I was like, "Wow!" I mean, he was playing on the Series X, so I don't know if there's a enhanced whatever version, the newer consoles. But even still,
I think you're just talking about in better resolution and frame rate, sort of like less slow down.
This is a really good looking game. I don't know how they've got a game to look this good, to be honest. It's on both though. Is it on the older consoles as well?
It's on. You can play it on the One and the PS4 as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose the cutscenes, if they're just FMVs, I suppose that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think
really it's nice. The first time they've used, because it's Unreal Engine. Like this is running on Unreal Engine, so and I believe all the other games weren't. And because of obviously the long gap in between the previous game, which was Berseria, to this one, they've obviously decided to mix it up a little bit. And obviously we talked last week about the fact that this was like the highest streamed game on Steam, or the highest played game on Steam.
Well, it's sold over 1 million copies now, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, within the opening, the first week.
Yeah, which is really amazing for a Tales game because I normally don't sell that.
And for a JRPG, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see this is all sort of like paid off for them to a degree. Yeah, I've seen some recent controversy come up about some of the DLC on the game.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to pay to jump levels. Because I think that's the one that people were like, oh, hold on, you can pay money here to increase your character's levels.
Yeah, they've got the outfits you can buy as well, haven't they?
Yeah, see, the outfit ones are actually interesting because you'll unlock new skill trees with those outfits. So you actually make your character stronger by buying those.
Well, that's a bit naughty, isn't it, that they've done that, to be honest?
Yeah, but those skill trees aren't required for, obviously, the trophies or achievements that are in the game.
Yeah.
Because it does say on a lot of the things, like excluding the DLC stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where the game goes after this sort of main part of the story wraps up. Because I believe I'm at the final part of it.
Okay.
At the moment. But we shall actually see.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, I mean, everyone I know who's bought it is really enjoying it. I see a few people in our Discord are completely addicted to the fishing and spent like 10 hours plus just fishing in it. So
it wouldn't surprise me there's a trophy or achievement for catching every fish.
Wow, that's going to take some time. It's not for me, but if it makes people happy, then crack on.
I think there's only about 40 something in the game because there is actually if you go into your sort of glossary or notebook, there is actually a page which tells you everything: your highest combo, your highest amount of damage, how long you've been playing the game, how many fish you've got, how many owls you've found, how many things you've crafted, weapons you have. All of the sort of stuff that you'd be interested in knowing is actually like tallied in that.
Brilliant.
Which is pretty cool.
Cool, man.
But yeah, and again, there's a demo. I don't think there was supposed to have been an item or some freebie that people got for playing the demo, but I never really received.
No, I don't remember getting that either. To be honest,
they did release the other day like a free owl set, which basically like if you want an owl sitting on your head.
No, thank you. But yeah, I don't really like a lot of the cosmetics. Just really take you out of the game because you can get cosmetics like sunglasses or funky eyes and horns and tails to put on your characters and that, but it just looks really out of place. You put them on and it just, because obviously they're wearing all these things in the cutscenes and stuff, and it just, for me, it just takes me completely out of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saving a lot of the outfits and stuff I got for after the story's done.
Yeah.
So I can run around in, because obviously things would be a lot more relaxed. Although I have been to an area in the game which I believe is an end game zone.
Is that the tower?
Off. Yes.
Yeah.
You've been there as well then.
Yeah.
I went there and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Should I be going this way? And it was like, oh, hold on, it's not letting me get in here or go in there yet. But I'm imagining that opens up later.
Yeah, because you're like me on RPGs. If there's a zone, because there's the areas of multiple exits, and if I go the way and a story bit kicks in, I'm like, right, after the story bit, I'm going back to the other zone, and I want to see what's on those other exits before I carry on. I want to have all the map bits unlocked. So that's what I do on these games, and and it's a good way of getting a lot of extra stuff to upgrade your weapons and to create new weapons, create new accessories, and to get items for your cooking as well. So that's what I've been doing. But yeah, when I got to that part, I was like, ooh, I did think exactly the same thing as you.
I mean, it's a bit of a classic, isn't it? Like, go up the tower or down the tower. Like, you don't know. It could be one of these where it's like so many floors, and it gets harder as you progress and all the rest of it. Because There is a trophy or an achievement in the game for reaching level 100. And like I say, I'm near what I believe to be the end of the story, and I'm only level 33.
Fucking mad, isn't it?
I've got New Game Plus, so you could start it again on that level and carry on that sort of way, or?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it might just be one of those where when you finish the game, you unlock another couple of areas where you actually get enemies that give good XP and stuff. Because I did touch on it briefly last week, where you can grind enemies in this, but you don't really get a lot of XP from them, to be honest.
No, you don't.
And the more you fight the same enemies, the less XP you get. To the point where you're getting like 50 XP for an enemy, like a fight or whatever.
Yeah. I googled the item you get from the demo that carries on to the game. It says it's a vacation hotel doll. Now, unless PlayStation has spelled hotel wrong, but it says hootel,
Hootel.
A hootel doll.
No, that was it then. It was the owl. Yeah, they're called Hootle, or Hootle is the owl that one of the characters has with them. You've always got to have an animal mascot in a JRPG.
Got to be done.
You've got to sell your plushies,
Repeat's my favourite. Yeah.
There was actually a Hootle edition of the game. I didn't realise. I only, unless it was either sort of media only or just released overseas.
Okay. Right, so we move on to another game?
Yeah, we might as well move on to something else. There wasn't really much else I did play, although this week I did get hold of, which much to my surprise, Senran Nin Nin Ninja Tyson Neptunia.
Ooh. Okay. How the hell do I spell that? So just for Senran...
Senran Nin Nin Ninja Tyson Neptunia. It's called Neptunia Cross Senran Kagura or something in American or English. But yeah, I was
where you don't get the physical copy over here.
No, this is I ordered it from Japan, and that's why I was quite shocked it arrived. Fair enough, I did do express delivery, but I didn't expect to get it in England the morning after the game launched in Japan.
That's crazy, man.
Delivered to my doorstep.
Wow. So was it a fighting game with girls with big boobies?
Well, basically, you've heard of Hyperdimension Neptunia. It's like a big JRPG series on originally sort of like on PlayStation and some of the other things about a load of like girls who are basically representing different areas of the console space.
Right.
So you've got a character that represents Xbox, you've got a character that represents PlayStation, you've got a character that represents Nintendo, and all of that. And they've obviously got a series of games, and then you've got the Senran Kagura franchise, which at the moment is dead in the water thanks to Sony and their censorship policies. And the developers of Neptunia, which I think is Idea Factory, decided to do a crossover game.
Okay.
Which basically features 4 of the characters from Neptunia, the 4 main dojo leaders from Senran Kagura, and I think 2 extra characters in a sort of like crossover game. It's coming out over here, I think, in October, which is kind of fast-tracked considering it's only just sort of launched in Japan. But I suppose they're trying to get quite a few games out for PS4 at the moment, just to remind people that it's still a platform that's going at the moment. I haven't played a great deal of it because, like pretty much every single Japanese game, you wade through text for fucking ages.
Yeah, and you can't read it because it's all in Japanese.
I stuck it on. I was sitting there with Google Translate. So it's basically like a ninja invasion, like a robot army comes down, and they're basically trying to attack an island which is shaped like a giant shuriken, which I think was pretty cool, actually, the way they did that. So you got this other lot that have come down saying, like, we're the ultimate ninjas and blah, 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 obey us, and then robots come down and you sort of, like, team up to fight them off. So it's basically your typical sort of hack and slash with slightly different controls from a lot of the other games. It looks reasonably well. It seemed that it was higher than 1080p because I was running it on the Pro. It's obviously freed up quite a bit of space off my PS4 Pro since transferring a few things over, like Death Stranding and was it Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Satsuma, as Stunty would say. So I've been playing it on that. And yeah, within, like I say, the first half hour or so of the game, I got to play the tutorial.
Okay.
Is there a reason why you haven't waited for the UK release?
I've got all the other Senran Kagura games in Japanese. And there's also the possibility of censorship in the Western versions.
I thought Sony was censoring it everywhere, though, not just over here.
They are, but there was one time when I think it was like Senran Kagura Burst Renewal that launched in Japan like perfectly unmolested. And when they released it over in the West, they removed a few of the features from the game.
Okay, so Sony HQ in America were like, oh, we can't have this, cover them up.
Yeah, I think it also might have been the fact that the game launched before they brought out these silly policies.
I mean, I can see, because Webby's playing it on the Twitch stream, you see one of the women or girls running around and you can see her knickers up her skirt, so I take it that'll be all cropped out for the UK version.
Probably not. I don't think that would be. If it's actually like they generally have more of an issue with character art and things like that, like making skirts longer and giving them like stockings and stuff instead of actually having a bit of leg showing or something. No idea why. It's just a fucking drawing at the end of the day.
So they'll put her in a big puffer jacket then.
Well, this is actually rated lower than the Senran Kagura games. This is Sero C rather than Sero D, which I think C is like 15s and up and D is 17s and up in Japan. Right. So it's obvious it's for a slightly younger audience, and the fact that it's Neptunia. Neptunia is kind of fan service, but it's not really like lewd.
I played a few of those on PS4 and the PSP ones. Like I say, they're good and the gameplay's good, but then you get into a bit where you just, like the comic book text and you're like, get on with it. It's just like you could be there for 20 minutes listening to text.
Yeah, it's like that with a lot of Japanese games, though. It's kind of a bit irritating. I was saying to my mate when I was in chat earlier today playing it, I said that is one of the main differences between like a Western game and a Japanese game. You stick a Japanese game, you could be sat there for sort of almost 20 minutes before you even get to move a character or do anything.
That's whereas with like a
Western, with a Western game and stuff, you're just literally straight in. But I understand that with a sort of story, but when the story's going to be kind of just nonsensical fun, you don't really need to get super serious with it or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, you used to have like an arcade game and it'd be like, aliens have invaded. They fight back and you get like an angry group of people like running towards, and then you're into the game.
Yeah.
Maybe Japanese people are just more patient than us.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things that I found interesting when I was playing this.
Yeah.
Remember when obviously the PS5 came out last year and a lot of Japanese people were upset because they'd reversed the circle and X buttons?
Oh, yeah, they changed them back now.
Because in Japan, obviously, to confirm and select stuff was the circle button, and the X button was to basically go back or quit out or cancel. In this game, it's Western. So whether they've actually done that now for all of their Japanese games going forward, or whether there's something that's happened with the system update that's automatically swapped those buttons round, I don't know.
Interesting.
I did find it slightly
what they're doing, because like I say, I play a lot of older games. Most of the older games, you could just go in there and put whatever buttons on whatever you want. You could remap it however you want. I don't know why they've stopped doing that over the last so many years.
Yes.
Yeah, they might do somewhere along the line for those games, but I never obviously come across the option yet. I mean, it's like I said, it took me about 35 minutes before I actually got to a screen where I could actually manually save the game. I was like, please let me manually save the game. I've got a curry on downstairs. And I don't want to sit through 30 minutes of dialogue and nonsense again to get back into the game. Especially when I've actually now got to the point where I can actually start playing the game instead of just like sifting through cutscenes.
I take it that to get through those cutscenes, you've got to keep pressing X all the time. You can't just sit there and let it just play.
Yeah. I mean, they're all voice acted and stuff, so I can understand why. Like, it's done like that.
Fair enough, mate.
Get this when this come out. They look good.
Oh, man. I'll probably come to PC as well, I imagine.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I heard, while we're talking about sort of like games of this type that people sort of have a little bit of a moan about here and there, the Project Eve.
Yes.
There was a lot of people upset this week because apparently all mentions of the Xbox One and PC versions of the game have been scrubbed off their website.
Oh, really?
So it looks like this could be a PS5 exclusive, if not like full timed.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. It'll probably be timed, I imagine, because I'm just looking on YouTube now, and like it's got PS5, Series X, and PC on a lot of the old trailers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, a lot of people were like, on the older stuff, it was all there, and then this week everyone was like, I've been on the website, guys, this isn't looking good. They've got rid of the PC and Xbox One stuff.
Looks good. Nice jiggle physics.
Man, it does look like a good game.
I did laugh when someone was like, "Oh, the character isn't exactly wearing any sort of like super realistic stuff you'd actually wear," and I was like, "What? While you're being thrown into space by a giant squid with like millions of eyes all over it, and you're fighting angels and yeah, not realistic, is it? It's called fantasy, mate.
People are fucking mental." Yeah, man, this is one game I'm really looking forward to playing, to be honest. It looks fantastic.
You know when it's supposed to be coming out?
Early next year, I think, yeah. There's not really a specific release date on it as per yet, just apparently coming soon.
Cool. Anything else you've played, Darren?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, although I've probably missed out on a few bits and bobs. There's apparently a demo for Lost Judgment been knocking around for about the last week or so on Japanese PSN.
Oh, okay. See, the thing is with demos, I sometimes, if it's a game I know I'm going to buy, I'd rather just wait and just play the full game, you know. Otherwise you're just repeating stuff over and over again. So I won't be downloading the demo.
Yeah, it is kind of weird to actually sometimes get demos from Japanese companies because they don't like putting demos out.
Yeah.
It's kind of seen as in like, do you think this is good enough?
Yeah, man.
Although like a lot of their games have had like a lot of traction from demos alone. I mean, like the Resident Evil 2 probably shifted a hell of a lot more copies when people actually played the demo for that.
Yeah.
But then it can obviously have the opposite effect.
Yeah, of course. Same with betas and stuff. Yeah.
I was going to buy
it. It could push people who are on the fence to buy it, and it could push people who are on the edge of buying it not to. That's just, it's got to take the with the bad, isn't you?
Rough with the smooth, or whatever, yeah.
Okay, right. I'm going to get into games I've been playing. It won't take very long. So I've been dabbling this week.
I'll play some more of it this week.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Quiet. You're back, Webber. You went quiet for a second.
Oh, did I? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Discord went yellow for a second.
Oh, did it?
Did on my end, so maybe it's just Discord being a pain.
I don't know what's going on with Discord tonight, because we've even, paying to boost the server for better audio quality, and it's been a bit shocking this evening. But anyway, as I was going to say, I've been dabbling in a little bit of game streaming this week, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to be doing a little bit more of the game streaming now. So what I'm going to be doing is game streaming stuff on the PC, and when I get a capture card at some point very soon, I'll be streaming console stuff as well. So that'll be quite fun. So I've streamed a couple of games this week. So one of the ones, the first game I streamed this week was Sea of Thieves, of course, and we had a really good time on that. There, we were doing it in 4-player co-op. So myself, my wife, Darkest Frost, and Rooski. We regularly play Sea of Thieves together. It's maximum 4-player co-op, and if you haven't played Sea of Thieves, you get 3 different size ships. So the small ship can have up to 2, the medium size up to 3, and the bigger one obviously up to 4. And we had a really good session on that. We played it for 3 hours, and so basically the missions that we are doing now, it's kind of end game. So when you've ranked up all the merchant people up to 50, you unlock this thing called Athenas, and these missions take absolutely ages, and they give you a little bit of everything, but you get these special Athena chests as well, which rank up that specific kind of thing. And we had a really good time on it, and it was actually really fun to stream. And Peebs did as usual, coming in and saying, "Oh, it's like a job, boring." But I'm still having a lot of fun on Sea of Thieves with everybody. It's a really, really good game. It's a lot of fun. And it's just the randomness that happens. So I played the day after, just me and Frosty. I didn't stream that, and we were doing Athena's again. And it's fucking typical, right? We got to the end. We'd got everything on our ship, and we wanted to sell the stuff. And then another player ship appeared and started fucking attacking us, didn't it? So we tried to leg it because we wanted to just sell the one chest. We didn't give a fuck about the rest. But these sneaky bastards managed to get onto the outpost before Frosty and killed him and sold the chest for themselves. So we were really gutted about that. But yeah, the Sea of Thieves are still proving to be a lot of fun for myself and the other members that I've mentioned earlier. So that was cool. So the other game I was streaming last night is a little game called I Am Fish. This is on Xbox Game Pass. So it's by the makers of a game called I Am Bread. I never played it, but that was meant to be very, very good. So basically, it starts off and it shows your 4 little fishy friends all in this little fish tank, and at some point you'll get fished out of your fish tank and get put into little bowls, and all your fishy friends are all sold. So you actually end up playing through the game as all 4 of the fish at different times, and you all want to try and get out to the sea, a bit like in Finding Nemo. And it's very much a puzzle, and it's very much like a puzzle game. It's really well done, actually, apart from a few frustrating pieces. It's made by Curve Digital, which are well renowned at making the little indie games, and it has that really cool kind of art style. So when you're in the round fish bowls, it kind of turns into a puzzler where you can push your fish forward, left and right, and it actually rolls the fish bowl, and you end up having to do a lot of like puzzle platforming, getting around, like narrow ledges and stuff like that in kind of different predicaments to get to the end of the level. So like you go through different like rooms in a house, and you go outside trying to cross a road like Frogger, trying to avoid the cars. You end up going across rooftops along like little bits of string and all that sort of stuff as well. And it is actually really, it is a lot of fun. It can get quite frustrating though, because on one of the fish, and people, if anyone was watching me on Twitch last night, you would have seen me. There is a few puzzles in this, and there was one puzzle where you have to get the water level to a certain amount so you could get out this little pipe. It took me about 40 minutes to solve this puzzle, and I was getting so fucking pissed off trying to figure it out. But I managed to do it in the end. I mean, it does get a little bit silly at times because there's a portion like there's portions where you're like flooding a kitchen or flooding a bathroom, and the water level gets stupidly high in those rooms, and you're thinking, well, in real life it wouldn't get that high, but obviously it's just a little cartoony indie game, and it's just a little bit of fun, right? So yeah, it's done in lots of different levels. So you do like level 1, and there's collectibles throughout the levels. Like you collect little pieces of bread, which is obviously a reference to their previous game, I Am Bread. So there's lots of collectibles to do throughout the levels, and I normally miss quite a few because they are kind of in like little secret areas. But it's a cool little indie game, and it just makes it more fun because obviously you're a fish in a bowl a lot of the time. It's a little bit difficult to control because you've got to like build up your momentum, but if you go too fast, you'll go off edges and stuff, and then that time, like, so you get to points where the bowl will break, and then you'll be swimming freely in, say, a river, and then you'll end up in a little well-placed other sort of jar, which is a different shape to a bowl. So then you've got to work with the different physics of that as well to get your momentum and move that around.
I was going to say, I Am Bread, I think, was a physics-based game where you sort of like rolled a bit of bread around and like tried sticking yourself to things and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of like in that vein, but it's very Finding Nemo. It's a lot of fun. It really, I'm really enjoying it actually. So it's going to be my game to stream at the moment. And then when I've done with this, there's another game that I think there's another 2 games that have come to Game Pass this week which I haven't played, but I want to mention that look quite good. One called Skatebird, where you're a little bird who skateboards, but obviously you can go higher by flapping your wings. Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. And there's another one called Superliminal, which is like a puzzle-based physics game, which looks quite interesting. So I'm going to be checking those out. And since it's Halloween next month, I'm going to be playing through Evil Within 2. I'm going to be streaming that as well. So that'll be
such a good game
to do. I've never finished it, so I'm going to start it again.
What?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I never finished it, and I never played it on Xbox Game Pass.
We need Paves on there to give you a tongue lashing as well for that.
Well, I know. I mean, I love the original Evil Within. Yeah, well, this time I can do it on Game Pass.
I think number 2 improves on the first one a lot. Like, it's the closest thing to like RE4 in my opinion, because they kind of went a bit silly after 4, like with that sort of style of Resi game, and then 6 was just super silly. But this takes it back to sort of like more of the sort of psychological horror aspect of it all.
I mean, I originally started playing it on PC. I put about 4 or 5 hours into it and really enjoyed it, but then just kind of fell off it. But obviously now it's on Game Pass, I can restart it again and get some Chivos along the way as well. So that's going to be my plan for next month, as we get closer to Halloween. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably pick this up proper cheap nowadays. I'd imagine like well under 20 quid.
Yeah.
Like Evil Within 2. Is it on Game Pass as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's on Game Pass. So that's
it would be. It's Bethesda, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a Bethesda published game, isn't it? No excuses, people. If you haven't played it, get on it.
There you go. Lots of people are giving that game high praises. Okay, so I completed a game today, people. Oh, what's going on? What's that noise?
I think that's Nikki.
I'm not muted.
Oh, God, I just heard some kind of...
static.
Yeah, some static noise.
A little bit of static.
Anyway, I finished a game today. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Completed it for the second time. And I actually enjoyed it a hell of a lot more the second playthrough. I kind of understood the story a bit more, because obviously I absolutely hammered it the first time because I'm such a mega fan, but I played it in smaller chunks this time. Really tried to soak in the story, and I noticed more things this time than I did last time. So I'm not going to give any spoilers, but my overall opinion is that it is set in a completely different universe to the original Final Fantasy VII. That's why there's a lot of changes to a lot of things that happen. I still think, though, if you haven't played the original game, that you will miss out on a lot of the differences, and especially if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core on the PSP, you'll miss out on some of the stuff at the end of this game, because there's some shock moments in regards to things that happen in Crisis Core that happen and that don't happen in this one. That's all I'm going to say. So I really, really enjoyed playing through it again. Absolutely phenomenal experience, and I still think, this was a PS4 game. Obviously, it's been slightly improved for the PS5, but like the graphics on the actual characters themselves, especially when they're close up, are just absolutely stunning. And I don't think I've actually seen anything as good on any other system, even PC, to be honest. It's like even stuff like their eyes, they just look so real. And like when it gets close up.
Is it the Luminous engine that they're using for it?
I don't actually know the name of the engine. I know it's a proprietary. I think it's a proprietary one, right? Or did they use Unreal for this?
No, I think it's one of their own.
Okay. Anyway, it looks fantastic. Engines. So I completed it, and then what did I do straight afterwards? Loaded up the Yuffie DLC. So I started the Yuffie DLC today, and because I wasn't expecting much from it, but I'm really enjoying it. I haven't finished it yet. It's apparently about 5 hours long. But
oh right, that's not long at all, really.
No, but it's only a little bit of DLC. But what I really like about this, again, not giving any spoilers, it covers some plot points that are missing in the original game and in 7 Remake. So in the original Final Fantasy 7, when Cloud falls into the church, and then the next time you meet Tifa is when they're going after Don Corneo in that area of the world. Well, a little bit of the story is filled in as to what Avalanche do in that time that Cloud's missing, which is really, really cool, to be honest. So it's just...
I know Wutai is mentioned like by Avalanche a couple of times, I think, in like scenes in the bar in Seventh Heaven.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah. So that's part of the story is filled in a little bit, and obviously the character of Yuffie is completely fleshed out, because in the original game she's an optional character, the same as Vincent is, right? So you could get to the end of the game and never get Yuffie in your party, and her town on the world map in the original was completely optional as well. So they kind of brought her into the forefront here, and it's all about her story going into Midgar to do some stuff for the government of Wutai. I'm not going to say any more than that, but it's really interesting. It's a really cool part of the story. You meet a lot of characters from the main game, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So if you're a big Final Fantasy fan, and you haven't played Remake or the Yuffie DLC, do it, man. It's fucking brilliant.
They need to give people a bloody release date when it's actually hitting other platforms, because it's becoming a joke.
Yeah, and funnily enough, my mate Dave, Deadly Dubs, he's actually he was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time because he just picked up a PS5 a couple of months ago, and he finished Final Fantasy VII Remake today as well, and he's also finished the Yuffie DLC today as well. So he's been messaging me. So we've been talking about it, and he gave me a call earlier, and he was saying, I really enjoyed the game, but he said it's just annoying that it hasn't come out on any other platform, because he actually wasn't going to buy a PS5, and he's been waiting for Final Fantasy VII Remake to come out on the PC, because it was meant to be out on the PC by now, and he eventually just caved and got a PS5 for one of the reasons was for this game.
They sold another copy of the console, or they sold another console due to that game, I guess.
Well,
but
yeah, they did, yeah.
It's just bizarre, because, like we said before, the year's exclusivity is like well overdue.
Yeah, but I think they got another exclusivity clause for the for the PS5.
I can understand that wanting the exclusivity, because obviously it is one of those franchises that pretty much off and sold a shed load of PlayStations back in the day.
Yeah, that's correct. But yeah, I mean, it's this game. I mean, because I normally don't replay games, especially story-based ones, but it's quite interesting from a perspective of being a big fan, because since I've finished 7 Remake the first time, I've actually gone back and replayed to completion the original Final Fantasy 7, and then I've gone back and played Remake again. So all the storyline in the original is still very fresh in my mind. So when you're going in like that into Remake, like the differences jump out at you a lot more, and you can kind of see some of the reasonings behind some of the decisions they've made, but it makes it blatantly obvious that it's set in a different timeline to the original. It's blatant. It really, really is. And that was one of the things where I was a little bit upset about the first time I played through it, but now I've kind of gotten used to that, and it is actually quite interesting just to see the character progression on some of the characters, mainly Sephiroth, throughout Remake compared to the original. Because in the original, you don't actually have anything to do with them until after you leave Midgar. He's actually quite a big force within Midgar in Remake. So, I mean, that in itself is a huge difference. So, yeah, if you haven't played,
we're going to get the new one.
Oh, what, the sequel to this, where you actually hit the world map? See, this is something that I'm really concerned about, to be honest with you, Nicky, because obviously it's been a year and a half since 7 Remake come out, and obviously they've done the Yuffie DLC, and I'm just a little bit concerned as how they're going to add more content to this. Are they going to surprise us and be like, oh, here's some DLC with more story with another character? Or are they going to come out and be like, right, we're working on the next part of 7 Remake, but it's not going to be out for another few years? Because the problem is, right, I mean, they put a lot of effort into just this portion of the game. And in the original, you could get out of Midgar in under 3 hours, and this is like a 30-hour game. So obviously you can tell the amount of extra content that they've added into this. And remember, in the original, after you leave Midgar, it's a big world map and you can just explore anywhere you want. Now, how are they going to do the second part of the game? Are they going to make it a big world map, or are they going to make it a little bit more linear, like they did with 7 Remake, just like in the original, that portion of the game? If they make it a world map, I think it's going to take them a long time to actually make the game. I mean, a couple of reasons. One, we're still in the middle of COVID, and obviously games are taking a lot longer to come out anyway. And secondly, you know, the graphical fidelity, the amount of effort, etc., that they're going to have to put in to keep it the same quality for the open world.
Yeah, I think they're kind of lucky in the fact that by the time the next part comes out, it's going to be PS5 only, I could imagine.
Oh, it will be. I mean, possibly. The Yuffie DLC is PS5 only anyway. That's not coming to PS4.
Which it kind of goes against, because I think these games were originally announced for the PS4 anyway, so I could see why people would have a bit of an issue with that. But again, like, how are they going to work out carrying over your materia and carrying over your weapons and your summons and your character levels and all that lot to make it feel consistent?
Just won't, will they?
Like, these are big issues that they've got to try and get round, unless they actually... The only way I think they could get around that is by treating the original game and then everything else after that as a DLC. Although it is a separate game, it's going to have to be treated as a DLC that it will continue on from where it sort of left off.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, it's all very interesting.
Pretty interesting. I mean, you're talking by the time how many parts is it supposed to be? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I think it's going to be in 3 parts, but I mean,
in the last part, they're going to have to make the whole map available for everyone to travel around if they're going to be going by the ways of the old game, which means you're going to have access to everything from possibly most of the previous versions as well.
They just won't do that, will they? I don't know how, because they're doing 16 as well, isn't they? So it's like, well, this game came out.
They're actually not. Yeah, 16's being developed by the team behind Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, you can tell that.
Because didn't they outsource this to someone, then after about 2 years scrap it and start again? That's why that took 5 years to come out from they announced it.
Yes, it originally was put in the hands of, I think it was CyberConnect.
And they just didn't.
And they weren't happy with it, which is fair enough because I think they've done a really good job with what they did. I mean, back when the game launched on PS4, the only issue, apart from obviously slight story changes, that anyone ever had with it on the PS4 was like, have you seen the textures on the door?
Yeah,
like that was basically it. That was one of the only issues. Was like you've got this beautiful, gorgeous like level and the way the characters are moving around in the streets and sort of interacting and all that kind of stuff, it all made the place feel so much like you were there.
Yeah.
But then you go up the doors and you've got like a door that looks like something out of Minecraft.
Yeah. Well, that's all solved in the PS5 version, man.
Yeah.
Just weird how we always seem to, with PlayStation and Xbox, like the last year or 18 months of the console, we just hit some brilliant games with fantastic graphics, and I was like, right, on to the next one.
Well, it's just how games go, man. You finish it and you move on, right? I mean,
just thinking by the time, I mean, I don't think they've officially said it's going to be 3 parts, but by the time, I think that'll be 3. By the time that's going to come out, it's going to be like over 10 years from they announced it. By the time we get it.
Well, I would be surprised if they finished the trilogy on the PS5.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I reckon the last part will be PlayStation 6. I really do believe that.
Surprise me.
Yeah. So that's my thinking on it. Anyway, shall I move on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've only played a couple more games very briefly. Splitgate, I'm still playing that. Really, really enjoying Splitgate. Just wanted to mention that. Would really love to get some community involved on Splitgate. And played a little game, only very briefly today with Frosty, because he picked up a little game called Grim Dawn. If you haven't heard of that, I don't think it's on consoles at all. Oh, or is it? It might be. But it's quite an old game now. It's a bit like Diablo. But it's set in in this kind of old-timey world, and you run around. It's just basically a Diablo clone, but better. That's all I wanted to say about it, and it's really, really fun. You know, it's all about collecting the loot for your dude and getting, your gun if you want to have a gun dude or a sword dude or whatever. Just kind of hack and slashing, not really much story to it. That's what I've played, everybody. That is it. So, shall we move on to the news?
I didn't realise. I just went onto Twitter and didn't realise Boise had passed away.
Oh, I know, man. Yeah. Sad news. Yeah, I saw that popped up on my phone earlier. Another one bites the dust, eh?
It's soon going to be. It's soon going to get to a really horrendous point when we're going to just be losing legend after legend.
I know.
Like from sort of like media.
Yeah. Well, it's going to happen to us all, mate. Let's not dwell on it. Right, let's get on to the news. Battlefield 2042 has been delayed until the 19th of November. Part of me is a little bit upset because I was really looking forward to playing it in October. But again, but the second part of me is, it's only a 1 month delay, and if it ain't ready, it ain't ready.
Well, that's a good sign because considering the game is basically always online, as far as I can tell, because it is just a multiplayer-only game, isn't it? Yeah. The Battlefield servers have never been known to be particularly great. So, this is probably a very good sign. Oh, yeah. You completely missed talking about one of the games.
What game?
I've just switched over to the TV and an advert come up for Deathloop. You haven't talked about it.
Oh, fuck me. Why didn't I write Deathloop down? Why didn't I write Deathloop down? Shit, man. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I can't be fucked to edit. Right, so... have you played it? I thought you'd played it, but obviously you haven't, have you?
No, I was never interested in it.
Yeah, well, this is probably why I forgot to talk about it, to be honest. Just give me 2 seconds. Yeah, so I've literally only played it for a couple of hours because I've been very busy playing Final Fantasy on the PlayStation 5, so I've got Deathloop on the PS5. Big thank you to Wes for picking this up on the old game sharing. So a few positives on it first. It makes really good use of the PlayStation 5 controller with the haptic feedback. Every single weapon you pick up feels different. So as a prime example, they're bigger, heavier weapons. When you press the left trigger to bring them up to your sights, the heavier ones, it has more force on the left trigger to actually pull it to hold it up to your eye, which is a really cool feature, I think.
Yeah, they used that for Resident Evil, I think. Resident Evil 8.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I'll turn that off after a while because it got annoying.
Fair enough. I mean, I think it's a really good feature. So the haptic feedback on the controller is really, really good. But the one thing I will say about the controller is I still don't think the PlayStation controller really suits first-person shooters, just because the sticks aren't offset. And what I find about the actual sticks themselves as well, I don't know if you guys find it, is, you know, like on the Xbox controller, the middle of the sticks dip in quite a lot, so your thumbs stay in place. On the PlayStation controller, they're not dipped in as much. They're like kind of bobbled out in the middle. So my hands get quite sweaty because my man cave is very small, so it gets warm quite easy. And I find my fingers slip off the thumbsticks quite easily, and it's just just very annoying. But anyway, back to the game. So my initial impressions for the game were not very high, mainly because I'm not really a big fan of Dishonored 2, and it just feels like a little bit of it feels like a reskin of Dishonored. So the way with the map design, you know, you're in these certain areas and you've got enemies and everywhere, so you can like sneak past them, or you can go in all guns blazing. But the problem is, if you go in all guns blazing, you die really easy. And because it's in a loop, if you die, you have to go back and start again and redo the fucking loop, which is a little bit frustrating. Now, you do get 3 lives before the proper big loop starts again. But even so, that's just a little bit frustrating. So my first time I played it, I come off with quite a meh impression, to be quite honest with you. I did actually put a little bit more time into it today, and I got a little bit further in the story, and I was starting to get a little bit more intrigued by it, to be honest. Because the main characters, so there's a dude who's kind of lost his memory, our typical video game trope, and there's this lady who just wants to kill him over and over again and restart the loop. So basically you need to stop this time loop thing from happening. So the thing that's kind of pushing me through at the moment is just trying to figure out their relationship and what's happening, because she won't really give a lot of information. You have to kind of figure it out yourself as your main character. So I'm kind of getting into it a bit more story-wise now, but I'm still really kind of on the fence about the actual gameplay mechanic, because again, it does feel very Dishonored, which I really don't like. But the guns are a lot better, obviously, than Dishonored. So I can't really give a proper judgment on it at the moment, because I think it would be really unfair for me to do so, because I'm so early in the game. But from what I've played so far, I am struggling to see where all these 10 out of 10 review scores have actually come from, because I just think that's insanity. You know, from my initial impressions, it would probably be like a 7 out of 10, to be honest. No way do I think this is a 10 out of 10 game. But I will give a proper kind of opinion next week when I've hopefully played it a bit more, just to give it more of a fair shout.
I've heard the game gets a lot better the more you play it.
Yeah, so I've heard that as well.
Because obviously, everything in the game is like programmed. Certain events are programmed to happen at set moments, regardless. It's basically down to muscle memory. Plus, I think someone did say there is an ability or something you can get at one point, which means you can spend these accumulated points to keep items permanently or abilities permanently for when you re-loop.
Yeah.
So you can kick yourself out differently when you go back in again.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see where it's very interesting in a way. It just depends how much you want to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. So there's like three. I think there's 3 different areas which you can explore, and you can go to them. So you can go, like, at some point in the game, you can go to them in any order. But when you go to one, it's in the morning, and then when you leave to go to the other, it's the afternoon, and then the next time when you go to, it's the evening. So you can go to each of them at different times of the day, and different events happen during those different times. So I think from what I've read in reviews, it's a bit like a big puzzle, because there's like, well, someone said there's 8 people. Well, I was under the impression there was like 4 people. So there's like these main people you need to kill all within that one day scenario. So you need to figure out how to get them kind of all together so you can kill them all within that time frame to break the loop. So in that aspect, it sounds really, really interesting, to be honest with you, because, you know, a good puzzle was always good to solve, right? So, yeah, man, as I say, it's only been early impressions for me, but I'm kind of like on the fence still with it. But as I say, next week, hopefully I'll be able to give it a better shout.
To get Stunty on, he picked it up, didn't he?
Yeah, well, again, he's Mr. Unreliable at the moment, isn't he? He couldn't make it on today, but I think he only picked it up yesterday himself, so he's not actually played it very much, has he? So, yeah, man, we'll hopefully I'll play it a bit more this week if I can. Right, back to the news then.
Yes.
So yeah, we talked about Battlefield. Okay, so Gran Turismo 7 news. Gran Turismo 7 is going to support ray tracing on the PS5, but it will only support the ray tracing in a couple of modes, which is very odd. So it will only be
photo mode. Yeah, guarantee photo mode.
Well, ray tracing will only be in replays and when you're viewing your car in the garage. Which is really, I mean, I suppose it's because of the frame rate. Probably the PS5 can't handle it in the main game, but I just thought that was quite interesting. And the other piece of news about Gran Turismo 7, which I'm sure Darren already knows about, I think I've seen you moan about it already, is that Gran Turismo 7... I think you have in our chat. Gran Turismo 7 needs a constant online connection to play the single-player campaign.
No, I never mentioned that, but that's suckage anyway.
I'm sure I've seen you talking about that.
No, that would have been Stunty. I guarantee you that probably would have been Stunty.
No, Stunty doesn't complain about PlayStation games.
No, I mean...
perfect in his eyes.
Only pony Stunty.
Yeah.
It makes me makes me want to pick it up a little bit less, to be honest, hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to get it day one, man, because I'm just really, I'm really excited for Gran Turismo 7.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it'll be fine, but you will come a day when it's like, oh, do you want to know what Grandad used to play in my day? Look, let me just boot up GT7 and the servers are off. Can't play that anymore.
Well, just talking about Sony shutting servers down, Little Big Planet. So this is a little bit of a news story. So back in May...
the original?
For the PS3, yes. So back in May, Sony shut down the servers for the first 3 Little Big Planet games, including the Vita version, due to ongoing attacks and malicious messages left by hackers. The issues went back to last year, when Eurogamer reported the ongoing DDoS attacks and unstable servers which could be traced back to a single fan who was unhappy with Sony's treatment of the franchise. There were also reports from players of being unable to play community-made content and offensive messages appearing in the game. Months later, with no warning, the official Little Big Planet Twitter account has announced that Little Big Planet 3 PS4 servers are back online after a new title update, but all the other Big Planet games that came out before that have all been shut down permanently.
That's kind of shocking, because obviously the user-generated content in those games is one of the huge drawing points of them.
Yeah. So that's
kind of like, that's why even like when I envision what a new Jet Set Radio might look like, one of the things people would be like, we should be able to create our own graffiti and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that would be awesome if dickheads out there wouldn't put stupid, racist, nonsensical shit all over the place, which you know they would do because people are arseholes. Like, you give anyone the tools to be an arsehole, they're already off doing it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, so my next piece of news is... we talked about Project Eve earlier. But do you know something nice? A company actually did something nice for its staff. So the CEO of Project Eve...
I heard this,
Yeah, gifted his entire staff, or her staff, I don't know if it's a man or a lady.
That's the guy.
Gifted all the staff PlayStation 5s for the successful unveiling of the game. How cool is that?
All the people... It's really cool, but I bet there are a lot of people out there that are still after PS5s thinking, did he get hold of that many, did he? Yeah.
Oh man, I wish my company would buy me games consoles. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I can't remember if we mentioned this on the one before when we was talking about the thing. He's actually the guy behind the game is very, very good friends with Yoko Taro.
Who's that?
The creator of the Nier series.
Oh, him. Oh, yeah, the dude who wears that funny big moon mask thing. Yeah,
which is why a lot of, obviously, people were saying, quite a lot of Project Eve is kind of very reminiscent of, like, Nier.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, the Yoko Taro was like, yeah, go for it. You can do what you like. Like, you've got my blessing.
That's awesome.
If you want to do that kind of a thing.
Excellent.
But yeah, I did see that story this week about the buying all of his staff PS5s.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I mentioned this piece of news last week, but I couldn't remember. It's about China. So obviously we talked about a little while ago about the news that China is removing effeminate men from all TV broadcasts, like news broadcast, TV shows and movies. Well, they've actually gone further now, and they're banning effeminate men in video games.
Why not just say we're banning effeminate men in media? Like, then that encompasses everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? I don't understand what they're trying to do.
Because they're hugely anti-LGBT, whatever.
Yeah, they want to... Because also doing a thing that they're getting rid of, like, celebrities and stuff, aren't they? Like, getting rid of them online, and because they think they have too much influence and power. But it's just as an example, I've got on the stream here. There's a character from League of Legends here. So the top picture is the Western version, and then the bottom one is the Chinese version. So games companies are actually changing characters to suit the Chinese government, and we're seeing this. Well, we're seeing that in a lot of media now, and what's quite scary is that companies, instead of doing two versions, are just kowtowing to the Chinese government and just censoring things for the worldwide audience just to suit China. And so this is something that has affected films already, the way that some films have been advertised, and it's now affecting video games in some minor ways, but I think it's going to start affecting games in a lot of major ways in the future as well, because China is a big market. All these companies.
Either that, or now some companies are just going to be like, you know what, screw them. Like, we'll just do without. Because it's only like the gaming industry itself in China is very, very like new and recent. Like they literally didn't really have gaming over there for years, apart from obviously PC and free to play stuff. So like obviously all of the console generations pretty much up until now has survived without needing China's involvement at all. They always had their own knockoff consoles, didn't they?
Yeah, but because there's a lot of money involved, I think some companies will just you've seen it, they're kowtowing down to them. You know, and it's just a shame because all these companies, what people don't realise is all these companies, these media companies and all that, they're out there to make money. They don't actually give a fuck about people in general. You got all these companies for Pride Month doing all the rainbow flags and all that bollocks. They don't actually care about these people. They're doing it because they think it will generate more fucking sales. You know, so and these are the same companies that are kowtowing to other countries' demands anyway. So they're very two-faced, and people just need to see it for what it is. You know, and there was another piece of news about China in regards to the new Life is Strange game. There is a shop which has that's
Taiwanese flag, isn't it?
That's the one I was looking for. Yeah, the flag of Taiwan. And the Chinese, and this is how brainwashed the Chinese are. It's been review bombed on Steam from the Chinese people because the Chinese government and the people see Taiwan as part of the Chinese territory.
Is it Taiwan or is it Tibet? It's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Taiwan. I think it was a Taiwan flag in this.
Because they've actually.
Because I know the Tibetan flag is a big issue, isn't it?
They changed one of the flags on Maverick's leather jacket, didn't they, in the new Top Gun, because it's like they wanted to show it in China and they don't like that country, or they don't recognise it as being its separate country.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so I just thought that was a bit of interesting news to show.
Have you got the WoW stuff on there as well, or not?
What, the WoW news? No, I don't. Has there been WoW news? Tell me.
Yeah, they've censored a load of paintings in WoW.
Oh, really? Is that to suit the Chinese again? Is it?
No. It's there's like pictures of like women, like paintings of women and stuff that they've kind of like made look less attractive by covering them up or just replacing them with images of
paintings. What the fuck?
Yeah. Replacing them with images of fruit.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I mean, that game is going downhill big time. I mean, it's one of the longest running MMOs and one of the most successful MMOs. But you know, it's losing a lot of its audience, and and doing stuff like that. I mean, Activision Blizzard are on a bit of a back burner at the minute, anyway, with all the stuff going on. And they're just trying to appease people to say, "Oh, look how good we are! Look at what we're doing." But it's fucking been in there for like 12 years or whatever. Anyway, no one's even fucking noticed or gives a shit. And now you're doing that. I mean, what a fucking pointless exercise. But there we go. Right, two more bits.
They're panic stations, aren't they?
Yeah, big panic stations. Well, they fucking deserve it for what they've been up to.
They've renamed McCree, haven't they? I think in Overwatch.
Really?
Yeah, because he's named after one of the staff members that's been accused of all of this.
Oh, the sexual fucking stuff. Yeah.
So I've heard they're renaming the character.
I mean, does anyone even play Overwatch anymore? I mean, really?
I don't know.
I think it's had its time. It needs to die.
I still hear a few bits about it on social media and stuff, but that's about it.
Okay. Right, I'm going to move on. Got 3 more pieces of news. Tales of Arise has shipped over 1 million copies. Which has made it the fastest selling game of the franchise, which is super awesome. A little bit of news about Dying Light 2. It has been delayed again. It's now been delayed until some point in 2022. There's no confirmed release date for it now. But one little thing that I'm a little bit, which has kind of put me off the game now, is it's going to be introducing weapon degradation. Everyone loves that in a game, don't they? Ugh. So
if you can find materials and other things to repair it, because as far as I remember, didn't Dead Island have weapon degradation or like damage and stuff in it as well?
I can't remember, mate. I mean, it's one of the things that really annoys me in Final Fantasy XIV as well. I have to keep on going to a fucking repair dude to repair my gear. I mean, it's pointless. It's a video game. But yeah, it's just one of my pet peeves in games. And my last piece of news is Bungie may be working on a Destiny mobile game, according to leaks from a job listing. Everyone's really excited about mobile games, eh? Woohoo! Destiny Mobile. Turner, I know you're listening. You'll be on that 24/7, mate. When you're on the toilet, get your Destiny fix. I know. I can see it now, man. Yeah. There's too many mobile games coming out. No one cares. Make some real games. That's all my news. Have you guys got any news?
That the Sonic creator's gone off to make mobile games as well now.
Well, there's a lot of money in mobile games, so I can see why people are doing it, but I've never really been a mobile gamer. I mean, I've dabbled, of course, but touch controls, meh, and the screen. I mean, I've got a big phone. I've got a Note 9, and that's a big screen. I just find it too small. I like to be in front of a big screen, so that's not really for me. So, yeah.
It's be it for people waiting in queues and mums waiting for their kids at daycare and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Really.
What else was I going to say? Okay, have you got any more news? Because I've got one question. We'll get into the question then. So I just want to put out there, I'm a little bit disappointed. It's a freebie podcast week, and I've had one question. One fucking question. There was a time when we would get loads of questions each week. What has happened to people? I put the shout out on Facebook and Discord for questions. Facebook group is fucking dead now. No one fucking answers puts any questions on there. And on Discord, I've got one question this week. Come on, people. We want questions to answer in the podcast. What are you doing, people? Come on, get involved. Anyway, that's my little moan. Wes, our number one fan, our highest paid patron. And while I talk about patrons, actually, I need to give a shout out to the 3 highest paying patrons. So we've got Wes, who is a VIP patron. So thank you very much, Wes. He's on the £15 a month tier. And the all access patrons, who are at the £10 a month tier, Phil and John. Thank you very much for being amazing patrons. We love you lots. Awesome times. Anyway, Wes, our number one fan, asks... hang on, wrong thing. He says, if you could have one special guest on the show, who would it be? Who do you reckon would be an awesome guest?
Alex Jones.
Oh, for the conspiracy episode. Oh, man, that would be amazing. But the problem with Alex Jones is he doesn't stop fucking shouting. Isn't he? You know, he gets really red-faced, goes, whoa, you know. But yeah, it's a good one.
It's part of his thing, isn't it? No, well, yeah, obviously not for a gaming thing. A gaming one, I don't know.
I think Peter Molyneux would be a good guest. Well, we've already had AC Bongos on, and he was a good one to have. Maybe Major Nelson. Or who's the guy that runs Sony now? Perhaps we could get the dudes who run Xbox and PlayStation on at the same time. That'd be fun.
That'd be fucking great. Yeah, time to seats and be like, right, boys, I'm going to fucking hit you with what I think shit about your consoles at the moment. Yeah.
Get Mark Cerny on, everyone will just fall asleep.
Oh, fucking I'll be talking about SSD speeds for 5 hours straight.
I think I want to get Leanne on because that might could happen at least. So.
Well, my wife, yeah, I mean, she has been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves. I mean, that's literally the only game she plays at the moment, so it might send a lot of people to sleep, actually, just a long Sea of Thieves discussion. But on the other hand, it might get a lot of people into it. So it might be a good idea to do a Sea of Thieves special at some point. That'd be quite fun, wouldn't it?
It's kind of weird. I mean, I don't really follow a lot of the mainstream media or games media stuff really anymore.
Yeah.
Per se, or even and even if you do get on like certain people within the industry, you're just going to get corporate speak.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You don't really get. It's the same issue when people come out. Like you even had like at the end of the Sony thing, like people coming out and asking questions to the different developers and all that lot. It's all like pre-done questions and like responded answers and stuff. There's no real kind of
I know.
Conversations and stuff going on properly that are outside of like maybe upsetting. Like they even had that little thing, didn't they? Like at the end of the show, the following interviews do not represent the things behind Sony Entertainment and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Just try and distance themselves, just in case anyone said anything offensive. You've got more chance of the sun coming out tomorrow and it being black.
Yeah,
but
that's why AC
saying anything slightly offensive.
Yeah. But that's why AC Bongos was a really good guest, because he was very down to earth, just kind of chatted with the lads, right? But imagine getting Major Nelson on from Xbox; he would be all corporate speak, wouldn't he? You know. That's
I think AC Bongos as well has gone up the ladder somewhat, so he's obviously in a more respected position in the company. Like this was back when he was he like community manager or something like that?
Something like that,
the smaller sort of roles, but then obviously he's become bigger in the company.
Yeah,
but it's hard because obviously people do represent companies and you can't say stuff to put the company in a bad light, but I think sometimes people have to do that because certain people want certain questions answered.
100%
from the actual fans.
Yeah, I've got a bit of news. I don't know if you said it last week. PlayStation announced a new Wipeout game, but didn't properly announce.
Oh yes,
it's coming to mobile. It's coming to mobile, isn't it? That's a mobile game, right?
Oh, I thought they just said it was PlayStation. I'm pretty sure, but they didn't, and they just put it on the website. There was no like trailer, social media, or anything.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, it's called. Hang on a minute, because I remember now. Clarkey was moaning about this, and I've actually found the trailer. It's called Wipeout Rush.
Right.
And it's coming to iOS and Android. Woohoo! That's probably why I didn't add it, because it was very forgettable.
Because no one gives a shit.
Yeah, and it looks like a bit like a comic, but
you've got a fast-running game on your mobile phone on a small screen, and then you're going to be rubbing your thumbs all over half of that screen trying to control it.
Yeah. I mean, there hasn't been a Wipeout game for ages, is there? I mean, they did that Wipeout collection on the PS4. I think that was the last Wipeout game they actually brought out. It needs a bit of a rehash for the PS5, I think.
Well, they've closed the studio down that made them.
Well, no, they're fucking idiots, aren't they? I mean, they were such great games.
Because it all happened originally with the Wipeout they put on Vita, which I thought was perfectly fine. And then I don't think that sold as well as they expected, and I think they put a lot of eggs in that basket. And then they did, obviously, the redo of the one that you mentioned on PS4, and then that was it. Shortly after that, they were like, we'll shut down the studio.
It's a shame, man. It's a big shame. But yeah, they're bringing out a mobile game. Clarkey was very upset because he loves the Wipeout games. So,
well, the thing is there's nothing like... You had so many games of that type back in the day, and now... it's another one of the genres that's kind of dwindled to nothing.
Yeah.
You had like your F-Zeros, your Wipeouts. There was, I can't remember the name of it, but there was also one on PS1 or PS2 that I remember that was kind of mad. It was like, it was kind of like racing, but it was like in tanks or something, or half tracks.
Oh,
and you went round like pipes, and you could turn your car over, and it could drive upside down because the What was it?
Roll Cage.
It might have been that, yeah.
It was the PS1 Roll Cage.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's like a ton of games like that, and obviously even like with the 360, you had like, was it Split Second?
Split Second was awesome. I love that.
The other one that Playground Games did, Blur.
Oh, yeah, that was really good as well.
And now those games are kind of all sort of like pretty much dried up and disappeared. Like the only racing games we really get now, outside of like arcade indie ones, are like simulation racing or like your open Forza world Horizon, style, like Forza Horizon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame, but yeah, I can see why. If they're not selling well, then they're going to stop making them, aren't they? You know, it's just the nature of the game, unfortunately.
Well, I suppose you could. Like, I can guarantee you, if Nintendo did another F-Zero, it'd sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, I imagine it would.
But they haven't recognised that franchise now in about 20 years. Oh, no. It's got to be about that.
Yeah, it's dead.
And obviously, Wipeout, the PS4 one was highly regarded when that brought out, but I don't know if a lot of people were too much into it because they'd either played those games before or it might have released around the time of another load of big hitter games. And obviously the Vita, as fantastic as it was, it didn't sell as many units as Sony hoped it would, which is why a load of the the Western developers all sort of just walked away from it.
Yeah.
I mean, if that game had sold as well as Sony were hoping, we'd have got a lot more interesting games out of it, including a BioShock game, which was apparently being worked on. Because Ken Levine even came out at the start of one of the things and said, like, oh, we're making a game for this little thing here, and he lifted up a Vita, and everyone was like, oh, BioShock on the Vita, and nothing.
Oh. Okay. Right, I'm going to go into my last piece of news, my last question, because Frosty, who's listening live on Twitch, hello, Frosty. Nice to see you listening. I thought you were playing some Sea of Thieves tonight, but it's nice to get a question through from you. He says, if there was one thing you could change on your gaming platform of choice to make it better, what would it be? What do you reckon?
That's an easy one.
Go on then.
Games running off disk. No need to install games to a hard drive.
Yeah, but wouldn't that make them run slower though?
Not if the disk drives were better. You're saying about obviously improving something that would make it better. There you go. Disk drive that actually runs games off the disk.
Save you some hard drive space.
Well, you wouldn't need hard drive space apart from game saves and system memory and stuff. Yeah, get rid of all that as well.
I don't think the DLC. I don't think we'll ever get.
That's not going anywhere. But
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's something that you would have loved to see, of course. No, I do understand that.
Just make it old school again. Full finished games.
That would be nice.
Running straight off the disc. Actual what a games console is supposed to be. Just pop it in and off you go.
Yeah. What about you, Nicky?
I don't know. Other than let me buy one, I can't really think of anything. To be honest, I mean that's all been said. You know, like broken games, so many patches and stuff like that. But that's not going anywhere, really, is it?
No, I mean the thing that I would like to see on all platforms is more crossplay on more games. And one thing that I would really love to see as well is, and I know it's not going to happen, is being able to have a utility to chat with your mates on different platforms. So, like on PC, I can obviously party chat with my Xbox friends while I'm doing crossplay, but there isn't that feature on the PlayStation. So unless like a third party like Discord can be utilized on all the platforms, then I would like to see something like, I would like to see Discord on all platforms so I can talk to my mates on all the systems at the same time and get into voice chats and stuff. I think that would be very beneficial, to be honest. On the PC space, because that's obviously my gaming platform of choice, I would like to see less fucking storefronts to buy games on, because you've got like Ubi Store, EA Store, fucking Epic Store, Steam, and many others like GOG and stuff like that. It just gets a little bit bitty. It's very fractured, the marketplace. I would like to see. I mean, I would like to see it all in one place, but obviously that would stifle competition. But it would just be better for ease of use, to be honest. And something else that I would like to see as well is PC games coming out that actually perform when they launch. So you'll see, like with Deathloop as a prime example, you can tell it was made primarily for the PlayStation because it hasn't been optimized at all for the PC version, which is why it's been getting review bombed on Steam, because even with very high-end systems, it's very janky, apparently. And that's just something I would like to see less of. We spend a lot of money building our PCs. We want the games to fucking run properly. So the game studios need to pull the finger out their asses and fucking sort it out. Now, one of the reasons why we are seeing issues on a lot of PC games is Denuvo, which is the anti-piracy software, actually uses a hell of a lot of computer resources, especially with the CPU, to actually run. Now, this obviously hampers your gaming experience, and this has been proven with games that have been cracked and have the Denuvo removed. If you go onto YouTube, you can actually see the difference. So one of the big examples was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You got a very big performance increase on the pirated version than obviously if you bought the retail copy. So it's actually better for PC gamers to pirate the fucking game for free to get better performance. I mean, that's just counterproductive, right? they might as well, right? Because the problem is, right, I can see where these game companies and publishers are coming from. They don't want people to be pirating their games, and I fully understand that. But the problem is, right, by putting this Denuvo anti-piracy software in your games, it's actually hampering a lot, the game performance themselves. And eventually all these games get cracked anyway, and a lot of these people that pirate your games wouldn't buy them anyway because they're tight bastards and they're going to wait months for them to be cracked anyway. So it's not actually really doing a lot of good in regards to sales anyway. So it just seems to me like a pointless exercise, to be honest. So that's something that I would like to see stop, because you look at games like I don't know, what was the big example? I think it was The Witcher 3 was one of the best examples that I can remember. So CD Projekt Red actually own GOG, which is a launcher, and is a storefront. So they release all their games day and date with no anti-piracy software or any locks available at all. So their games can easily be uploaded and distributed for free if people wanted to pirate their games. But their games, actually, because they put it out like that, it sold way more than anyone could have predicted. Why? Because it had no anti-piracy fucking software. The game was really, really good, so people wanted to buy it anyway. That is how you do it, people. And that, I don't know.
I think I heard Resi 8 got done as well recently, and like the one you can buy officially is like locked at 60 frames per second, but the hacked one is like 4K 120, like with no slowdown at all.
It's crazy, isn't it? That's because of the anti-piracy software.
Got to do something, but it's like I hamper the people who are paying, try and 100%. Stop the people who are never going to pay. That's just going to happen. It's like a lot of these film companies get mad and try and stop people, download and pirate movies and stuff like that. I was like, well, those people were never going to go to the cinema and buy a DVD anyway. Yeah. So
I think that's been pretty much proven.
Not saying I suppose you've got to do something, but I don't know. It's just make it. Why not make it easier for people to buy the game rather than make it harder for people who do buy the game? Make them cheaper, like that PC, like they used to be. PC games used to be like 25 quid compared to consoles 40.
Well, I mean, if you go to a lot of these CD key reseller sites like CD Keys, you'll find the games at least £10 or £15 cheaper than the console counterparts anyway in a lot of cases. But the prices on PC have been creeping up. I do agree with you. If you go onto the Epic Store in particular, they're all 50 quid on launch day. Fuck that. I'm not paying that for a PC game because us PC games are used to paying less.
I mean, if these CD sites can get these keys to you at such a cheaper price and still make a profit, why can't they sell it to it? But
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that kind of industry works. To be honest with you, they've got to have a profit margin somewhere. It's just obviously games. I just want to say, like, games that are being sold on Steam obviously take a cut of each sale on there anyway. But like on Epic, they take a less of a cut, but the prices are higher. So what the fuck's going on there? I don't get it.
I remember when PC games and Steam happened. That's when, I mean, early 2000s, they pretty much stopped making physical PC games. So everyone was like, "Oh, well, that's digital, so that's why it's £15 or so cheaper than what it is on PlayStation because you haven't got to pay the disc and the case and the booklet and all that stuff." But since the consoles have been doing it, it's just the same price for both of them.
Yeah,
it's greed. I mean, that's to go back to the question. That's one of the things like I'd get rid of. Get rid of Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus and paying for online. That's just. I think a lot of people, if you don't have to pay to play online, I think people would actually spend more on the store. I think a lot of people who say, "Oh, well, I won't have PlayStation Plus," and like the parents and people who've got kids think, "Well, I'm not even gonna pay for that because if I hook up my card to that, then the kid can pay, buy stuff." So they just don't go on it at all. But if it was free, I think they'd get more money.
Yeah, but there's parental controls on that, right? You can set it your console, so you have to put a password in if you want to buy stuff, or you can just buy the Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus cards, right?
Well, you say that, Webby. I mean, I had that where I bought the card, or a download code card for PS Plus last year. I had it for a year, and I turned it off, and they still took the money, renewed it, even though I turned it off, and they still done that.
Oh, wow!
A lot of PlayStation do that, which you've got to check and double check. Like when they do like a big console update, and you click all the whatever boxes, that turn that back on.
Yeah.
They had an update on. They did the update this week on PlayStation 5, didn't they?
Yeah, there was another controller update as well. Yeah.
Which I think now gives everyone the option to do the hard drive update if they want to at the moment.
Oh, can I have a moan about that very quickly, actually?
I've got something to moan about that update as well.
Can I say mine first?
Yeah.
Right, so there's a new setting for the sound settings where it uses the microphone on your controller and it does a sound thing of your room to make your sound experience better, apparently. Well, I did that, and the sound in the game was fucking awful. It sounded like, you can do those sound effects to make your sound like you're coming through like in a different type of room, what's it, like a club sound?
Reverb.
Yeah. So the sound of my game was then when it was on, it did that testing. It sounded really echoey, like it was in some sort of tinny room or something. It's like, oh, that sounds horrible. And as soon as I turned it off in the PlayStation settings again, it sounded fine. So that fucking sound effect bullshit is crap.
It obviously has to be just finely tuned for something or other, I'd imagine.
But yeah, that's my moan.
But yeah, my moan about it is, do you remember back in the day when I used to say about I liked the way that the tiles consolidated all your demos and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Into the one tile. So obviously, when I put in RE8, when I first got it, I noticed the Maiden demo had disappeared. I was like, where is it? And then you go into Resi 8 and then you push start and it down the bottom, it was select game version. And it had then put the demo in amongst that. And I thought that was really cool because it compacts everything along the top nicely and makes things easier to find. No, we'll get rid of that. So now it's all separated into separate things again.
Oh,
so your demos are separate from the actual games and whatnot. I mean, they're easier to see that they're there, but it didn't take much effort to just push start, select game version. There it is, job done. Find it all in one spot.
I just pulled the microphone out of me just pulled my headset out of my controller because I was just moving because my room. I've had to close my my man cave in my house is quite small, and I have to keep the door closed because I don't want to wake the kids up. And it's so fucking hot in here. I'm like literally sticking to my chair, so I just had to move. And as I was moving, I just pulled my bloody headphones out my mic, so I missed like literally the last 10 seconds of what you were saying there, Darren. I do apologise.
No, I was just saying I just found it much better when you could just find it all in one spot rather than it being separated.
Yeah, no, completely makes sense, mate. We've just had another question on Twitch, so I want to say a big thank you to Lorensky for sending us a question and for subscribing with his Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. Are you a new listener? Because I don't recognise your name, but if you are, even if you're not, a big welcome to you on the Twitch channel. You can find the podcast, 360 Gamercast. Just search for it on all your podcast apps and stuff. Anyway, he says, "Hi guys, kind of a random sci-fi type question, but do you think games will start to become so realistic in years to come that the line between games and reality will start to become blurred? And graphics may have to be dumbed down, or there may have to be systems in place so that we know what is a game and what is reality." That sounds quite like the Matrix, doesn't it?
I talked about this a few podcasts ago when I said games look almost realistic, but not, so they make you feel uneasy because your brain is telling you it's real, but it's not. So that seems like something's off, and that seems a bit scary.
Yeah.
If you see what not the word is scary, but like uneasy because brain is telling you that's real, but not. So it's kind of weird, like a dream or something. And I said that some of the games, like I think we were talking about Saints Row and stuff, that has gone sort of back a little bit to the kind of kiddie, cartoony art style. I don't think they can get much. I don't think they can get much better than that without looking like all real life.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and this is quite an interesting question because I think while we are gaming on TV screens or monitors, I think we can plainly make that distinction, right? I mean, no matter how good graphics get, we know it's gameplay and it's on a screen in front of you. That's not really a issue. But I think once we get to that point where virtual reality, and I do think it will get to a point where the technology gets so good that the VR headset, it won't really be a headset. I think we will get to a point where it's a bit like the Matrix, right? And you jack yourself in somehow and you're transported into this virtual world. And I do think in the future, everything will be done online in regards to going to school, all your work and everything like that will just be online in that kind of virtual world, a bit like that fucking book. What's it called?
1984.
Not 1984. Fuck me. Why
Ready Player One?
Ready Player One. I don't know why I forgot about that. That's one of my favourite books. Yeah, I think the future will look a bit like Ready Player One, to be honest. The book, not the movie. And I think some systems will have to be put in place to have that distinction between reality and the virtual
like
world.
That weird film with Bruce Willis, where basically people just sort of like live in a house and plug themselves in, and they basically take over a robotic version of themselves, which goes outside and does all the
that sounds
daily
quite cool.
doors and stuff.
Yeah, but
I can't remember what that film was called.
Yeah, the one thing I'm also concerned about with the future, in that regards, Lorensky, is addiction. And obviously, people get addicted to a lot of things: gambling, drink, drugs, gaming. I mean, gaming can be an addiction, even on a screen. I've been guilty of being addicted of some games, some points of life. But I think when it gets to that point in the future, and gaming or even a virtual world or whatever becomes mainstream, that's where the real addiction will kick in, and you'll see people that would rather be in that world than the real world. and it will and people will have a lot of health problems. So there will have to be solutions to new health problems that come along in the future. You know, people having sedentary lifestyles in their real bodies, being really fat. You know, you've already got stories in some and like Korea and that of people dying from gaming too much, not eating or drinking, leaving their children unattended and stuff like that. You know, I think we could see more problems with that in that regard.
Frosty and regulation. Regulation as well, like especially like when you're talking about games looking realistic, the first games that have come under fire would be games where you're just like shooting people or killing people.
Yeah, and I think there'll be some regulations because we'll probably see a lot more kind of porn games, shall we say?
I don't know. You probably pull away from that, to be honest. It's already happening, like with censorship and stuff. It's like you can't have anything too risque. Even if it's rated adult or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I prefer the stylised games anyways. I always like the fact that, like, Death Stranding, I suppose that uses real actors and all the rest of it, but you can still tell it's a game.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And even if you were to sharpen that and perfect it a little bit more, you could still do it to the point where you still know you're playing a game.
Yeah.
Where it wouldn't feel real. Because I think sometimes you do run into issues. Like, even with, like, certain films, if you're doing, like, even in the superhero films, having real people doing all these fantastical things does have a disconnect to it at times, because you know its effects and all the stuff. Whereas if that's more placed into a fantasy setting, which is far more disconnected from reality in a way, it feels more plausible, more believable.
But the thing that I'm concerned about, Darren, and I could see even myself becoming addicted, is, you know, like you get, you know, you plug yourself in again like the Matrix or Ready Player One or whatever, and you get like an MMO, right? And it's like, oh, you have your fantasy life where you can, you know, you go fishing or set up your little farm or you go off questing and all that sort of
because
stuff.
If you could technically inhabit this person in a fantasy world and be like, yay, this is great, I get to run around and do this for 6 hours, then I've got to go to sleep and stand at the cheese counter for 8 hours in the supermarket. Like, you're obviously going to much prefer doing the other thing.
Yeah, I know, but it's just because it'll be more in depth, you know, because I feel like you're actually there, you know what I mean? I think that's where it'll become even more addicting. Darkus says that Facebook are already looking at making a metaverse in VR, like the Oasis with their Oculus. So that
it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because there was already one out years ago. Do you remember Second Life? I think it's still going on PC. So in Second Life's heyday, for those people that don't know, people were actually, and a lot of people and a lot of companies were making a lot of money in that, because it was like you could go into this fantasy world and socialise with people, and there were actual shops in there, and you could buy.
Yeah, people were selling clothes for avatars and stuff.
And they were making a killing. And there was an island, and people could buy islands and properties and stuff. And I remember it was in the news. Someone actually sold an island in Second Life for like $1 million in real money. Yeah, so.
I wonder how that investment's paid off right now.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there's some multi-millionaire, probably peanuts to him, but these things come and go, right? And you can see how technology has spanned throughout the years, from Second Life as an example, very crude, running on your monitor, and you can see where the future's going. I mean, the VR technology is getting a lot better. It's still not up to the standard for me personally. I still get motion sick. I notice the blurriness and all that sort of stuff, but I think the technology is coming along quite quickly, and I think that's where the future is going to be, to be honest, is, let's say, with either VR headsets or with something you jack into. I think, I mean, I'll be surprised. I mean, it's hard to say if we're going to see it in our lifetime, though, right? I mean, I know technology has come on quite quickly in the last 20 or so years, but I mean, who knows what the future is going to hold within our lifetime, but I certainly think within the next 100 years or so, it will come along to that point, which I've already said.
But I find it weird in another sense, because obviously we live in a world now that's more connected than ever. but yet humans are more disconnected than they've ever been. Less people are going out. Less people are meeting in real life and having
physically. You mean
more people? Yeah, more people are having conversations with their mates online or in party chats or things like that, rather than going out down your mate's house to see your mate, sit there, talk, like couch co-op and all the rest of it. You're both just separated away from each other, chatting on a headset and stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
and obviously from talking to a lot of taxi drivers and stuff, especially in my area, like nightlife around here is dead. Like we used to have about 5 nightclubs back in the sort of like early 2000s or so, and now there's like 1, and it's like about 5 miles away.
Wow, it's just how things have changed. I mean, when I was a teenager, right, I used to go clubbing every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. You know, it's just what you did back then. But now, youngsters don't really into that. I mean, they'd rather be online doing whatever, gaming, socialising like that. But you know, human beings are social creatures, and we kind of crave that physical contact. And obviously it's going away. And I mean, I don't mind talking to people. I mean, I work from home at the minute, so I'm quite happy using Teams or other technologies to do web chats or whatever with people. Obviously, I've been doing the podcast a long time, and I consider the podcast co-hosts, you know, some of my best friends, even though we only see each other physically like once a year or every couple of years, where we talk so much, right? You know, so I can see that, Darren, and I do understand what you're saying, but I think in the future, when it comes to VR or whatever, you know, it'll be more that virtual contact where it'll be your avatars and stuff like that, and it won't feel as disconnected, if that makes sense. I mean, it's hard to say, right? You know, I mean, it depends on the sort of person you are. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I've got a wife and kids and that, so I get a lot of human contact anyway. But I've always been kind of a hermit to a degree anyway. Like after my teenage years into my mid-20s, I was quite happy gaming online on my Xbox, not going out
just being on your own or whatever, and just be like, that's fine.
Yeah, so everyone's different, right? But yeah, it's certainly one to look at, because you look at how the awareness of people's mental health has come along in the last couple of years, especially since the COVID lockdown. It has really affected a lot of people, because you know, you got people that live on their own, they're losing that social contact and stuff.
Overload. It's information overload constantly. Like I can, this is where, like, as obviously horrendous as certain things that are said are, Cypher in the Matrix was ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like, literally living in your own sort of world, oblivious of all the constant shit that's going on. Because obviously, in reality, constant shit is going on. We've spoken about this before. We all grew up like we'd hear the news like a couple of times a day. There was no internet or anything like that.
Yeah.
But now it's like as soon as something horrendous happens in the world, like everyone knows about it. It's there. It's hammered, and then everyone bringing up issue, government issue, politics issue. It's just almost too much sometimes.
Well,
this is why as well people want to escape off into other stuff. Just can I just forget about that for a couple of hours, please?
Yeah, that's it. You know, and I think the internet in general was a great place when it was first at first inception. I mean, I've been on the internet since like 97, 98, I think. And you know, it was very crude back then. You know, there was basic websites, there's basic forums and all that sort of stuff. And that was quite a nice way of communicating. As soon as we got to the advent of social media, I mean, it started off with MySpace. I mean, I used to actually quite love MySpace with the AOL chat, which Frosties remind me of. I used to love playing the AOL pool. Oh, no, the Yahoo pool. Yahoo pool was fucking brilliant.
What was it Pal Talk or something that was like one of the early talk things online?
I can't, mate. I didn't.
There was like this group of chat rooms I used to go in my mate's house, and it was like some of the most horrendous vitriolic abuse. You've just heard people shouting at each other and stuff.
Yeah, but
there was one that he used to jump into, and it was just people hurling. It was just the insult room.
Oh,
and it was just like who could come up with the best insults and stuff. It's just bizarre.
But just going back onto that, I think the technology itself is great. But I think, in general, people are stupid. I don't know, it may be horrible, right? But I think it's not the technology; it's people in general have ruined it. And what I mean by that is, you look at how popular social media has become. Mainly, I'm talking about Twitter as the biggest example of that.
But yes, Twitter's still constantly in trouble. It's not the biggest platform. Like, it's a big platform. Don't get me wrong, because obviously a lot of well-known people and that use it, and it is still one of the best places for information.
Mm. Yeah,
but it still struggles. Like, they're always constantly trying to make a bit more money on it because it's not doing particularly well. They lose people all the time and whatnot.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about in general. So you've got social media like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok's the big one at the minute, which I don't understand. Like, I just want to give a public service announcement to people that use TikTok. You do realise TikTok is owned by the Chinese government, right? And it is literally owned by the Chinese government, right? And they are siphoning off all your personal information, right? Why the fuck are you using it? It's designed by the Chinese government to dumb down the general populace of the West, and it's fucking working, right? It is fucking pointless, stupid videos, all that bollocks, right? And then, well, you know what's even more scary? When I tell people this, the answer I get, I've got nothing interesting for the Chinese government to look at of my data anyway. I'm like, are you fucking mental? Like, they're taking your information and you're saying to me you don't care. Like, they're taking photos, like all the other data off your phone. Like, I don't understand that mentality that you're perfectly happy for a foreign government to take your personal information. Like, seriously, look at yourselves. Look at what you're using.
Like when you get, it's the same with most apps. There's a ton of apps that are basically like, we want a blood sample and a stool sample. We want the keys to your front door and that. Is that all right? Yeah. By the way, if you don't agree to this, you can't use our app.
Yeah, I know. And Frosty's just put a little piece of interesting info in the Twitch chat. He said that TikTok has now overtaken YouTube with viewing hours. That is fucking scary.
That's mad.
That is mental. I can't believe that. And I remember when TikTok first come out, and I was going into London quite a lot, and they had all the billboard ads for TikTok, and it's obviously there's been a lot of money pumped into it from the Chinese government just to try and get it out there. And you know, there was even a point last year where the American government were going to ban it in the USA because of all the because it's owned by the Chinese government and all the data siphoning and stuff like that. But I don't actually think it went through in the end. I'm not actually sure why. I keep on telling Peebs to fucking delete it because we've got a WhatsApp group and I don't. And WhatsApp is another one. It takes your data and sells the ads to Facebook and all that bollocks. I'm trying to move everyone off to Signal, but it's not really worked. So I'll stick around in WhatsApp for the free 360G group and that. But Peeps keeps pumping out all the TikTok videos into a WhatsApp group. And I keep fucking telling him, stop using it, you know. And I've clicked on a few of the links on a secure web browser, which blocks all data being taken and all that bollocks. And the videos, I'm just like, it's just pointless fucking drivel. What the fuck, man? It's like that endless. It's like Twitter, right? The endless fucking cycle of crap. It just numbs your brain, right? And that's already affecting a lot of people. And I can see it really affecting the youth. It's just it's dumbing people down, and it's not good. And that's a problem with some technology. To be honest, it's meant to, like, the internet was created to expand your mind. To get more information, but with social media, the wrong type of information is going to people, and a lot of it is negative, and it's just detrimental to your mental health. I actually made a pact with myself to not go on, because I can openly admit I was physically addicted to Twitter. Like, I joined Twitter in 2007, and I actually do think I was properly addicted to it for about 5 or 6 years at least. Like, I would be sitting on the sofa watching a movie and I would be on my phone on Twitter the whole time. Be out and about on the phone on Twitter, like, all the time. And actually got to a point where if I had my phone in my pocket and I hadn't looked at Twitter for about 20 minutes or whatever, I would feel sick, nauseous, like those kind of, those addiction feelings in your body. I felt like, oh no, I'm missing out. What the fuck's going on? I had to look at my phone, and then I'd get that relief when I was looking at it. And I think that's the feeling that a lot of youth of today and people Peebs' age as well are getting with a lot of social media, especially with TikTok now, and it's just not good. How the fuck did we get here anyway? Gone right ramble on, but it's just to make people aware.
We were originally talking about games looking too realistic, and we got all the way there.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But yeah,
I think you're right though, Webby, when you talk about addiction and things like that in games. I mean, I was thinking when you were talking and that, about TV programs over the years, like Life on Mars, and there was one on, I can't remember what that was called in the 90s. It was a TV show, pretty much the same thing. A young lad was in a coma, but in the coma was a fantasy world with Dungeons and Dragons. He was a king, and basically both of those people who, when they woke up out of the comas, decided, what, my real life is crap, I'm going to kill myself and go back to that.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry to spoil the end of Life on Mars if anyone hasn't seen that, but that's right. I mean, you've got your missus, your kids and stuff like that, but you're right. Just imagine if someone's got a horrible job they hate, no friends, no family, and they're just going to work and coming home and stuff like that. If they could give themselves up to the Chinese government and plugged into a weird Matrix thing, they could be some kind of... No, if they
I choose to live in my zombie world, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I know, but if they could, it's not a nice thing to say, but what if that was better than their real life and they thought, fuck it, and they wouldn't know no better? Who wouldn't?
No, I know what you mean.
That's addiction and depression, that could, and things like that, even if, you could end up getting more upset and depressed in the real world if you get addicted to stuff like that, because for most people, real life is kind of boring and not as good as you thought that was going to be from when you were younger.
Yeah.
You're expecting the world, and people are told, you can do anything you set your mind to. No, you can't, but...
You can, but as long as you've got... certain people are gifted at certain things.
Yeah, but not everyone
you have to look at,
super rich, famous...
I believe everyone is amazing at something. They just don't know necessarily what it is.
Yeah, and for us,
much in the same way that Tiger Woods' old man tried him out at every single sport until he realised he had a knack for golf, and that was where his talent lied.
I know. I'm just, saying, Webby's right. With addiction and things like that, you have got to be careful with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's obviously again why China are doing their whole I can only play for a couple of hours a week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Well, can you just imagine in 40 years' time when China's taken over the world and they say, oh, look at this Peebs, we banned swearing and he called someone a cunt on TikTok in 2020. That's it, you're going to prison. It's the sort of thing they could end up doing.
Fucking cancel culture. It's real, man. It happens. It's happening now in the West.
I've done a professional footballer who's 22 because he called someone gay on Twitter when he was 12, 13.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And I'd give him a a £20,000 fine or something. I'm going to ban him for 5 games for something he went on Twitter when he was 12.
I did hear there was someone in American sports as well who basically he got fired from his job because he admitted he once bullied some kid when he was 14 or 15.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I mean, the thing is, right, when you're a young teenager, you do stupid things, right? And you do, this is from personal experience. When you hit your 20s or whatever, you get past teenagers, you're a completely different person. And most people who are sensible look back and think, fuck me, I was a dick when I was 14. I'm never going to do that again, right? And to be punished for something you did at that age, when you are an idiot, just naturally anyway, especially blokes, it's just crazy in my mind. And
that's called growing. That's called growing up.
Yeah.
And
you realise that doesn't make sense. Why am I saying that? I'm not going to say that anymore.
And this is why
you don't realise you make your decisions.
That's it.
You don't realise sometimes when you're younger, when you're saying things, don't actually realise what that means, the effect that could actually have on people until you get older.
100% agree. And what I was going to say is why I'm so glad I grew up when I did was, you know, there wasn't any smartphones or anything like that. The internet was very young, you know, so stuff like that isn't recorded, so your mistakes and all that stay in the past, and you forget about them. But with the internet as it is now, especially with social media and stuff, kids put silly things on there, and they're there online for life, you know, and people are going to find it or whatever, you know. And it's a pretty scary world we're living in now, to be honest.
Jobs in the future will ask you to, can we look for all your social media posts?
Fucking mad, isn't it? It's crazy.
Just look how they just seem to be going back and doing people for stuff they've done like 40, 50 years ago as well. So not just that, you know, like Kevin Spacey and all these other people. Oh, back in 1972, this person said you did this. He's like, can't remember what happened last week, mate. What do you want me to say? If that was a problem, why didn't you go to the police then? And you know, I'm not just saying that, but just in general, how people can go back and sue people for stuff that happened decades ago that they can't even remember.
Yeah,
just, you know, for stuff that did actually happen. But you know, what proof are you going to have from 40 years ago for stuff like that?
So it's one person's word against another, isn't it? How can you?
Of course it is. How can you
that? Because how can you
someone
go
did
to court
something
like that? Yeah,
30, 40. I mean, I don't care. Like, I'm pretty sure, like said, Kevin Spacey, that's all been chucked out. No proof. That's just one person's word against another person's word. And probably BS because the woman wants, or whoever wants a payout. But the media don't then come out and say, oh, sorry, Kev, we didn't mean to do... That's it.
It's all about selling news stories, selling papers, money.
But they don't care
someone's life.
about injustice or whatever has happened later. It's just the story. Oh, it's gone. They don't care. Once you've been, basically, you're accused, and in the media, that's it. It don't matter if you're proven innocent. That's it. You're over.
Yeah. Well, this is why I'm quite interested in what's happening in regards to Dr. Disrespect. Just moving on to something that's a little bit gaming, because obviously he got binned off Twitch, and he's now found out why. He hasn't said yet, but he said in one of his YouTube videos that he's got lawyers and he's gonna sue the fuck out of Twitch.
Yeah, he had a no disclosure thing for 12 months, so he wasn't allowed to say what it was or do anything about it.
Yeah, so I'm interested to find out.
I know what it is, probably. I mean, it's probably BS. I know what happened. All the Ninja and all them people were going to Mixer, so a lot of Twitch people got paid massive contracts, and one of his was one of the biggest ones, and then obviously Mixer shut down, so they just looked at all the loopholes.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say that Mixer deal for like Ninja and the other big one, was it Shroud?
Oh yeah,
pathetic.
They got hold of. They both made millions off of that, and they were literally only on that platform for like a few months.
That's mad, isn't it?
And then they just came back to Twitch and they're happy to pay the money. And that's what it was. They found a loophole or said he's done something and he ain't, just so they can get out of paying him contracts. I mean, that's what these big companies do. I mean, like these wrestlers in the WWE that are getting released, and then they bring them back a few months later on like half the pay they were on before. That's just it is what it is.
Yeah. Right, on that note, we have been recording for 2 hours and 59 minutes.
I forgot to be up for work at 4.
Yeah, so it's 11:30 at night. So I think we should end it here. It's been really good conversation tonight. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for coming on, guys. It's that last question from Lorensky, mate. brilliant question. That has kept our conversation going for ages. I've really enjoyed that. So keep the questions coming. Really, really enjoyed the Twitch chat this evening. So for those of you who are listening to the podcast on the regular feed, try and tune into the Twitch. It's hard. We stream at 8:30 every Sunday night.
Except not next week.
Not next week because I'm on holiday. But even I should be saying this, the free the paid Patreon shows we also live stream. So if you're a tight ass like Clarky and still want to listen to the show, just tune in at 8:30 on a Sunday night. But yeah, I am away on holiday this coming weekend, so the show for next week is going to be live streamed next Tuesday at 8:30. So that will be on the 21st of September. No, 28th. Tuesday, the 28th of September will be when we are doing the next live stream. Okay, but normally it's at 8:30 on a Sunday. Oh, Clarky said hello. Hello, Clarky. So again, hey. Thank you to all the Twitch people for keeping the chat going. I really do appreciate you all. Thank you very much for the Twitch Prime subscriptions as well. Keep them coming. So for me, Mark Webb, Gamertag, Pearson ID, Steam ID, Webby, 360G.
Nick Wilson, that's Nick Fights on Twitch, Twitter, OnlyFans, Tinder, Grindr, all that good stuff.
And Sensor Switch.
So thank you very much. If you would like to support the show, why not join the Patreon from as little as £5 a month? You can sign up at patreon.com/360gamercast. With that £5 a month subscription, you get your own RSS feed, so you don't have to dick around with 2 different feeds for the podcast. Put that into any podcast app apart from Spotify, and you get a show every single week of the year and all the extra special shows that we do. There are a lot of ideas for new shows coming out in the pipeline very soon. Obviously, we've got the Halloween special coming next month, but there's a few more ones that I just need to talk to the crew to do. So I'm looking at doing a show about Chivos. I'm just trying to get availability for Peebs with that one, and I'm looking at doing some top 5 shows, some special shows. So I'm looking at doing top 5s of specific genres, so like a top 5 JRPG, top 5 racers, top 5 I don't know, sim games or whatever. So get some of the crew on and just discuss our top 5s of all time of certain genres. I think that will be a lot of fun. There'll be fun episodes to do. So look out for those coming in the future on the Patreon feed. So, and if you've forgotten that, just head over to 360gamercast.com. All the links for everything are on there. That's for the Twitter, the Facebook, but most importantly, the Discord group. That is what I'm really trying to push at the moment. Join the Discord. You won't be disappointed. Lots of great conversations going on there. So please join the Discord. 360gamercast.com. Go over there and all the links for everything are on there. And that's the end of this week's show. So thank you very much. Don't forget next week's show is on Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. on Twitch. So thank you very much. We'll see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.